Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here, and welcome to episode 273 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak, with ACG.
And I'm Dustin with Colin's Last Stand and Handsome Phantom.
You look like you were about to laugh in that intro. You had a little smirk on your face. Yeah.
I'm just happy to be here. We got the boys back together. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, I started the intro and I saw you just kind of like your lip was wrinkling a little bit. I was like, what did I do? Did you see something in the background move that I didn't catch?
And then you never know. It's like, should I stop or should I go? Or do I have a fucking unicorn horn on my head?
I thought it was something, man.
You got to turn on the energy, Like,
welcome.
Especially if you've done a lot of podcasts, just like right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Good to go.
There you go. Our rhythm's already off. I was already moving to the intro. Dustin was in his offshoot mode. Karak's drinking from an invisible can. This is fantastic. It's good to be back together, boys. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It wasn't for a sec there. Welcome to episode 273. This is our weekly gaming podcast where, we take the highlights, the big news, the big discussions. We break them all down here for you in a couple little sections with extensive talks, which I'm sure you're all fans of if you're listening to a podcast. We also answer your questions through the Patreon Discord. If you guys want to go ahead and join up, I'll have that linked in the description down below. After Dustin and I did an episode of Sacred Symbols Plus, where we covered some of the top RPGs of this year, a lot of you from CLS came over. About 5 new patrons came over after that episode went live. So nice. Yeah, I appreciate you guys hopping over, introducing yourselves. There were a couple messages that came through, so if you're new, thank you. I appreciate your support. We all do. And, of course, if you want to join up, early access is available for this show. You can get patron videos, which everything will eventually go live for free. Nothing's being walled off to you. It's just an option to support me and the show we're doing here. You can also get a bonus show, extra slice of ham. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and carry it into the other boys. What have you guys been up to? It's been so long since we've all just gotten together here.
That's right. Go for it, Karak. What's up with you?
I just want to say, that's cool that new patrons came. Two things. People don't realize that one patron is worth like 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. And that's no lie. It is it might even be more. I'll have to look at the numbers. But I was with Delrith from Angry Joe. He used to do Angry Joe, and now he's on the side. And I was in his chat, and we were yakking about some games and stuff like that. And it was crazy because a bunch of people were like, wait a minute. Is this Karak from MrMatty's podcast? And I was like, yes. Like, what the fuck? Because Twitch just has no overlap with you. None. Like, people in there were like, wait, is that the guy? He's got like 500,000. No, he's got like 700,000. And then people were all, I have no clue who this is. Like, there's just none. There was every person, because Delrith does reviews. So it was like there was some overlap there because he does, they were getting posts on YouTube. But it was crazy because everybody was like, oh, from the H.A.M Radio Broadcast, which is weird. Podcast. See? Told you.
You caught yourself, though. At least once. You caught yourself.
Every fucking time. But yeah, it was pretty cool. As for, are we going to do what you've been playing right now? Or is this
of course, go for it. Or anything you guys want to promote. How quickly you want to leap into it is up to you.
ACG at Teespring. I not only have amazing shirts, I worked with NASA, and we created face masks that will not only protect you from any virus, they are bulletproof, stab-proof, blood-proof, semen-proof, just in case.
Semen-proof, okay.
Sign me up.
And by the way, lots of testing on that one. They are flew to Japan, did some direct testing on that. No, I made some face masks, so you can get those on Teespring. Now that we are R-rated already, and I've destroyed Maddie's advertising, let's see, cash. So I did that I'd like to pimp. Yakuza video I dropped, Valhalla video, got to check those out. For pimping stuff, that's about it. But the big one for playing was probably Yakuza, because Yakuza Like a Dragon, I have a feel Yakuza Like a Dragon is going to be really interesting to see if people enjoy it as much as they think they're going to. Because the turn-based, after about 3 or 4 hours at most, I'll give it 4 just to be really nice. I would say about 4 hours in, whenever there was a battle, I caught myself hitting the button thinking I would punch right away. And it dawned on me that was me wanting to get through the battle. Because a lot of small fights occur and it's a lot, meaning too many. And so what happens is when it's turn-based, you can't speed anything along. Now, you can make them go automatic, which was pretty cool, but automatic still requires you to hit a button prompt for every special move. If you don't, the attack is very weak. So you have basically their general attack with a quick button press, a QTE. And if you don't hit the QTE during their specials, you're talking a third, maybe an eighth or a tenth of the power of the attack. So you can have them do automatic or you can jump in, but I just found myself like, oh my God, I don't want to fight these guys. And they see you from a long fucking way away. And they follow you. So, like, I was in the middle of getting ready for discussions, and I'd be ready to hit A, because there'd be some dude with a cat, and you'd be like, all right, this is a discussion. You're ready to hit A, and I'd hear bling! And I would get in a fight prior to being able to even hit A to like, instigate a discussion. And that happened. It happened a lot. And I didn't dislike the game, because it was 4 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours of doing testing and stuff. It wasn't the full 60-hour game. I just wonder if people are going to jump into this thinking it's all lobsters and fucking drop kicks in the special attacks, which it is. But there's a lot of other stuff. And the job system is incredible. You switch out and everybody even moves differently. So in the game, everybody's moving. And if you tell somebody to attack, you got to watch what time you say it. Because there was a game called Infinite. Was it Infinite Undiscovery? There was an RPG where enemies were always moving, but it was still turn-based, and they looked like they were fighting. That might
be Final Fantasy 13.
Maybe it is. So they look like they were
they
fighting.
have combat like that. Yeah.
So this game looks like stuff's happening, which is cool. It keeps it on edge. They're not just sitting there going in their cycle of rhythm. They're moving around, but they can move out of your range, and there's an interrupt system in the game. So you'll say, hey, I want to attack this guy. If he moves between two enemies and you run, they can hit you. And if they do successfully hit you, it interrupts your entire attack, which I loved. I thought all that was fucking actually really awesome.
Sounds intuitive.
Yeah. However, and another thing I liked, when you switch out jobs, they act their jobs. So if you get a chef, he walks around with his ladles on his shoulders while you're attacking with other people. If you change him to a gangster, he walks around like with his arms crossed. If you switch the chick to K-pop star, she's like strutting like she's a model.
These are jobs, and they have like different attacks and skills?
They have different animations even. It's not even just the different attacks. It's when they're in the battle doing their side stuff. Like the chick, she had, I don't even know how to describe this walk, but it was hilarious because it was like the worst Kardashian shit you've ever seen, where their hips are too thrown out for a human to really, when they take a picture and they do that shit where they look all fake and they got Tyrannosaurus hands. That's what it was mimicked perfectly. One of the guys, you can get a gangster suit, and he'll like, when he's walking behind everybody, he's like, what's up? What's up? It's just hilarious looking. And then his attacks are those, right? And if you switch out, his attacks will be something completely different. That's fucking awesome. But all that does feel like I could see people who are accustomed to Yakuza being like, oh my God, I get it, but can I switch to real time for this shit battle? And that we will have to see. They also fucked up pretty severely, and I told them this in the preview, I'm not hiding anything. They fucked up severely in how they gave us the preview. What they did was they made you level 15, they put you in the game, and then they gave you a lot of skills, too many. So you can see more. So when I'm in level 1 through 14, some of those skills I've already seen. So that buildup is going to be pretty rough for me because I'm going to see a lot of stuff I've already seen. It's not going to be that element of surprise. And I couldn't die. I mean, I just couldn't die. I was just killing everybody in the preview. And I saw a lot of people saying, oh, this is a blast. The combat's this and that. And I'm like, I've met a lot of friends who think a game's good because it's easy. And what I'm nervous about is those reviewers getting hold of it and being like, oh, I don't like this as much because it is actually harder in the real game versus that preview. That preview couldn't die. I just couldn't. I was trying the weakest attack on one guy and letting everybody hammer me, and I wasn't even close to dying. And I saw a lot of people, oh, you can do this and that. And we've all had it where if it's all good times, you think it's all good times. And I think with previews, there's been those times where that happened, and this was the unfortunate one. They were really nice to give it to me. It was very cool to play. I don't dislike it at all. I just don't know. There was too many things that I didn't get to see. that normally in a preview I would have seen. The starting in the middle is a bad idea, by the way. If you're listening and you want to do a preview for a game, I'm sorry. It just doesn't work because I see stuff, story stuff, right? Like you see characters
just naturally put it all together. You just can't avoid it.
Right. And if you play that how many times have you played, like you play that, then you play the first, you see a trailer where they show a mid-boss, and you see that mid-boss in the first minute of the game, and you're like, well, he's a bad guy, obviously, because fucking in the trailer, it shows me fighting him, and it doesn't work. So that was my time week, was Yakuza. I like it. I think people are going to think I'm negative on it. I'm not. It was just a weird preview experience, and reminded me that switching from real-time to turn-based doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. So,
yeah, I mean, I definitely have my questions about that, especially because I know they said if a lot of people don't like this approach, that they'll just go back, which I thought was pretty transparent of them. Yeah, they literally said they're just trying it for this entry, and if it doesn't work, they'll go back to kind of beat them up. It's funny that you mentioned like I don't really want to fight you, because I had that with the
original,
actual,
right?
Yeah, I did. Like there was a period in time where you were so beefed up that I was just like, oh, just leave me alone. Or instead of stopping you and having like everyone be ready, like, okay, now we're going to fight, like just letting the fight happen. If there's a seamless, like let's say it is turn-based and like the enemy approaches you and there's not even that like battle start, like it just kind of engages you in a way that, lets you know it's happening, but it's very quick. I don't think, it doesn't sound like, at least on paper, I would mind as much.
Unfortunately, it does do that.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I feel like that's always been, I don't want to say an Achilles heel, but it's been an issue I've had with the series. Did you get a feel for the story? Because all the trailers show how wacky it is, and I think a lot of people don't realize how grounded and serious the Yakuza storylines are and how good they are at that. So did you get a feel for any of the story?
Yeah, I got a feel for it, and there was some PR data that they gave that you weren't supposed to talk about, but they were trying to explain to you why you were 15. I agree with you. I think a lot of people focused on the ha, there's a fucking lobster, and and didn't really like. There might be a lot of people who think it's. I guess that's what I was meaning, Maddie. Actually, I was saying that it's not all lobsters and drop kicks, and that's what a lot of people showed. And that is the thing. It is serious. There is some serious stuff. In fact, Judgment and this probably are equal in their seriousness of at least the subject matter at the starting. And I don't want to get too into it because I don't know how much they've shown, but the starting and what occurs to make the story occur is, at least to me, pretty fucking like dark. And so I didn't even cover that in my preview, because when I read it, I was like, that doesn't seem like, it seems like people might get mad, or, so I did explain that it seems, it still seems a little bit more serious. Voice acting, though, I got to say, man.
Oh, for English or Japanese?
For English. I don't understand Japanese, so all I hear is people grunting when it's Japanese. Like, I'm sure it makes, to somebody who likes, that's awesome, but to me, I only understand English, so I'm like, I have to play the English ones, otherwise I'm reading the subtitles too much. And it drags me away. People who watch anime a lot, that's second nature to them. It's a little less.
I was about to say it's like a trained skill that you don't realize you develop.
I don't even think
you do it a lot.
You're not even focusing on subtitles. Your brain is still figuring out the words quite easily. Me, I have to do the thing where I go, where I'm looking down and up.
And down. Yep.
The English is different, dude. It's and it's because the story at the time was a little dry, and so their delivery was like. And there was no music in some of these scenes because they hadn't been put in. So it was a little bit like watching The Rock without like Aerosmith singing. And you're just like, or that wasn't The Rock, that was, was it Armageddon? It's like a movie without without that big theatrical score, big whatever.
Gotcha.
So I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't know if it's the same voice actor, but I found it dry. And dude, what was the last one we played? 0? 6. Am I remembering Yakuza incorrectly? Does Yakuza always have huge, long discussions between two people?
Usually it's pretty quick. The side stories, I feel, are usually like the longest part. Everything else is all cutscenes, and they're relatively fast and kind of. That's what I liked about it, is that they're these big games, but the story is really like a 15-hour thing. Like it's relatively short. It's really what surrounds it that extends it. But there's definitely in the side stories. I haven't played 6, but in Kiwami 1-2, which I did play, the side stories you'd engage and it'd be like written dialogue. You'd read it and it would play that like kind of sound as like the text crawled. And that it was a decent amount, but never anything I thought overwhelming. Why is this like a lot more?
Yeah, there's some discussions between two characters that like are 9-15 minutes long between two, and I don't know how many happen. Maybe they gave us that time period so that we saw that big discussion. But there was one time where I sat at a bar and I was talking to the coworkers kind of thing, and I was like, what is happening? I mean, it was like a multiple main star of the story suddenly because they were going so deep in the other characters. Oh, I froze.
You're good on our end.
Okay, I'm good on your end. That's all that matters. Yeah. So long story short, still good. Still look like Yakuza. Still, still the craziness. But I think the seriousness may surprise some people if they're seeing those trailers because Sega's going a little bit nuts on showing the craziness.
Makes sense.
That was pretty much it for me. I hope people get it. I mean, it's still Yakuza.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
Dustin, what are you up to?
Man,
what are you playing?
It's been a real busy week for me. Like you said, we had done Sacred Symbols Plus at the beginning of the week. You can check that out on Colin's Patreon. I did HP podcast the following day. I did the main Sacred Symbols this week as well. I recorded our Patreon exclusive show for Handsome Phantom, HP After Dark. I recorded a Let's Play today. Now we're doing this show. And I edited all of Colin's shows this week as well.
Jesus.
So it has been a fun week. So
yeah, that's a lot.
Here's the thing, though, right? Is probably when you're on all these shows, you can just make a mental note of when there's something you're going to cut out. So it's almost like being there. You can just hop. No,
it's extensive. Like Colin's edits are like, well, I mean, part of it is that because it's over the internet. And we want it to sound like we're in the same room.
Right.
I'm like tuning up every conversation and any kind of pause and stuff. So I mean, it's a extra work, obviously, but it's one of the reasons we hope that our podcast stands out. No offense to, of course, this podcast, of course, that is over the internet.
I mean, I don't touch the audio.
Yeah. So that's a lot of it. But so yeah, it's been a good fulfilling week of work, and so now just this is like a nice easy ending, and I think I'm going to stream the Ghost of Tsushima thing later tonight, so I'm excited to check that out. As far as what I've been playing, Maddie, I took your recommendation and was checking out Prey.
Oh, I thought this would be Trails. That's why I dipped my head.
I don't even want to talk about Trails. There's nothing that is positive that will come from the comments. Not that I'm dictated by the comments, but it's just...
Do you want to, after such a long week, do you really want to bother yourself with the heat you would inevitably receive?
See, Maddie, you and I, we were talking about it over DM. I think I need, at some point, I just need, 5 minutes on Discord, because I need to explain to you what's happening and why it doesn't make sense to me in that game. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about Prey. Okay. So, I am about 3 hours in, maybe, and I gotta be honest, it's not grabbing me. But from what I understand from reading other people's reaction to this game, that the beginning is the slowest part. Is that true?
I feel like they give you, right, Karak? They give you the glue gun right away, where I felt like that was the kind of core of oh, this is cool.
That was the shit, wasn't it?
Yeah, because you can just make stair sets and just you can literally right off the bat you can just go up to the second floor of a building you're not supposed to.
So fucking cool.
So, I mean, it depends how much you like that, which I think based off your love of Dishonored 2, I would say you would. Yeah, I'm trying to think of when I really, because for me, my biggest issue with that game was its ending, and I also didn't realize this, which made me appreciate it more. I was playing it like an idiot. So I was killing everything. And so my point A to point B travel was really chaotic, where I started to get annoyed as I went on. I really liked the early to middle. But I think that's because of how I was playing. I don't know how you're playing, but I would say that's probably for most people fair. I think the way I played was not really. It's not how you're not supposed to play, but like it's probably not optimal.
Right.
Fucking Geico keeps fucking calling me. They're so annoying. Sorry, I don't mean to go off track, but the same guy keeps fucking calling me.
Is there a car insurance issue, Matty?
No, I bought one. He's like, I'm calling about your car insurance that you would like to sign up for. I'm like, I fucking signed up, bro.
Damn.
I signed up, bro.
Geico, stand down if you're watching this.
Leave me alone.
Mr. Geico himself, the CEO. So I'm playing it. When I started, I was killing everything. And I was like, this doesn't seem like what I should do. So I've started to try to be more stealthy, which I just started to get into like the alien powers. And that's what is kind of like the carrot for me to want to keep playing this, because that's what intrigues me the most. Is like, that's the thing about Dishonored that I love, is like combining powers to do things that you wouldn't even think of to do. Be like, holy shit, how did I didn't think that would even be possible to do. So I feel like my first few hours is like constantly I don't have enough ammo, and resources, which I understand that's probably the design.
That's definitely, I remember that being an issue.
So I've been trying to be more sneaky, and it's just like, I don't know if I just suck, but I keep getting seen anyway and then promptly killed. And so it's been a lot of trial and error as far as the sneaking around. But now, so I just got the ability where you can like turn into objects.
I'm going to step out. This guy's calling me again.
Damn it, Geico.
Hold on.
It's okay. So yeah, but I'm mostly intrigued by the combination of different powers and stuff like that. So I'm going to stick with it. But overall, it's been interesting.
I don't think I played the way either one of you. So for me, I just embraced the story. Like I was reading all the notes on computers and so I was treating it far less like an action game. So I was probably less Matty's side and more maybe the way you're playing now with stealth. But because I was trying to think, if I killed a bunch of stuff starting, and I don't remember, this game's like, what, 17? No, 16, 17?
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah. I mean, I did not have any part start or finish that I disliked. I didn't even dislike the ending, and I know Matty did. But what I was doing, so like Deus Ex, I've never, other than Deus Ex number 1, I've never felt the Deus Ex game sort of lived up to 1, which is fine. Like that's the way it is. So what I do is I sort of dive into the narrative, and what kept me with Prey was the narrative. So like I would go to a computer and read a log, and normally that doesn't capture me because I think logs are the dumbest fucking, like one of the worst lazy game things you can do. But for Prey, it worked for me, and I think that's what got me into it, was like trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. So I played it almost like a mystery game, and I don't remember what difficulties there are, if there's 5 or 3 or 2. But I would say if you're dying a lot, you may just want to. I mean, it's not like you're being paced. You may want to turn the difficulty down.
I was thinking about that.
See if they're anal about their stealth. They might be, where they have a really big radius, and see how it works that way.
The thing that surprised me, and I don't know if I like or dislike this, is that there's been a couple instances where I've been seen, and so I'll quickly run away, and those motherfuckers will follow you like way further than I would expect.
We did talk about that in our podcast 5 years ago, or whatever this came out. That is something that everybody discusses, is that they are relentless, or can be.
So, I mean, part of me, like, it's weird because the first time it happened, I was like, holy shit. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like, it was a weird mix of like, okay, this is annoying because now I have to deal with this guy still. But it was also like, that's kind of interesting that he was able to follow me that far. So, yeah, I'm going to keep playing. I don't want to go too into like whether I think it's good or bad, just because I don't think I can give a fair statement on it. I'm still playing Hades. I think I'm getting close to the end ish, because I know that there's like a lot of people that are like saying that, you know, once you beat it, then there's still so much more. So
sounds like Supergiant.
Yeah. But yeah, it's continually very, very good. Though I'm wondering if it's like giving me carpal tunnel, just because like am smashing the attack buttons so much towards
Oh.
the end. There's like so many enemies, and like I'm trying to like mix up attacks and stuff like that. And so I usually only do like one run in a sitting before my thumb, which I kind of have like a weird fucked up thumb that I think I hurt when I was a kid. And so if I, abuse it too much, it starts to hurt. So
I get you.
So yeah, if I need surgery on my thumb, I'm going to send the bill to Supergiant because it's
They have the
definitely
money.
making it act up. But yeah,
Million
it's still
plus copies sold.
it's oh yeah, I saw that. That's awesome. So, but yeah, it's other than that, those two games mainly what I've been peeping here and there.
Nice. I will say with Prey. Oops, I hit the mic. That was pretty aggressive too. I will say with Prey, I remember because you mentioned the Typhon abilities. I remember it's when you start upgrading them more or investing in that tree more, that's what'll send you down the let's just say the path I was on. So if you would like to avoid the incredibly aggressive AI and sort of play an experience that I think is probably better made, I would say lean away from fully investing in your Typhon abilities.
Damn it. I find those the most interesting. That's the problem though, as far as gameplay.
I get it. I was doing the same thing, man. There's like one where you can like shoot it and it's like an orb and then it just like attaches to something and wipes them out. It feels great. It's but you'll get other Typhon abilities which are a little more. I'm trying to remember what it is. Karak would probably know more than me, but and also the comments would. It's been a while. I shouldn't try to lead you astray.
That's what I
here,
said when you
but-
were gone. I think it was
Yeah.
like 2016 or 17. I will say that you played it differently than me, Maddie, because I remember I went the other way. You went Typhon. And I think that's why another reason why I like it so much is that the entire game changes depending on how you play it. Like, which I rarely ever see, especially because the narrative changed. And I think that that's just fucking, like, yeah. I'll wait to see if Dustin plays it that far, but there's points in that game where I remember sort of the way the space station was made up was going to change because I had chosen to go down one path or the other. And I thought that was fucking really cool. Like, it was it was one of those times where you rarely see that where they rarely say you might be fucked up. Not fucked up, but you might have a far more difficult time if you do this thing, if you want to go over here. And I thought that was sort of gutsy on their part.
It was because they never even tell you. It just
No,
starts to
they
happen.
don't.
That's
I don't think
part of
anybody
it.
knew till reviewers hit it, and then people started playing it, and they were like, "What the hell is happening?" So,
Maddie, real quick, I do have a question. Let's say I put a few more hours in and I'm like, this isn't for me, and I move on. Should I play that Moon Crash DLC if I haven't played the whole game? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
Moon
what I
Crash-
need to know.
Moon Crash, there's like one aspect of it, and I won't say what, that I don't think you'd appreciate as much, but I think Moon Crash as a whole is extremely good. I think you'd, because if you let's say you like the gameplay of Prey and just the gameplay of Prey, like Moon Crash is excellent for you because it pretty much like breaks the game into like a class structure and then like has these beautifully crafted levels that are just so fun to play through. And everyone approaches them completely different. So it's, I think, yeah, if you end up liking Prey's gameplay, but you're very hesitant on keeping going with this story, Moon Crash you should play either way, is what I would say.
Cool.
Yeah, really recommend that. What have I been playing this week? I think I've just been playing Trails 2. I'm sorry. It looks like Trails was inevitable here. I won't go on it too much because I've been talking a lot about Trails, but pretty much I'm 15 hours into this game, and it is, I know that the developers, Nihon and Falcom, didn't have a lot of budget with this series, so I am understanding with their situation. It was made a year after the first game came out, but they reuse so many assets, like so many. It's like you go to the same, like at least in the first act, it might change, which I feel it will. But in the first act, you go to the same locations. You go and I fought the same boss at one point.
so it's not even an asset as in a texture. You're talking about a thing is reused.
And it takes place like a month after the first game. So narratively speaking, it makes sense. Nothing should be drastically changed.
Yeah,
the world shouldn't be different. And what it's done is solidified that this Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 are, and this is going to sound stupid at first, are one story. They're literally a single game that was split into two. So the idea is when you are playing the Trails of Cold Steel story, especially because the first one ends on a cliffhanger, the idea is literally you play the first one and immediately go to the second one. And if you keep that mindset, it's not as this egregious level of like reused assets. It's you're literally continuing the story. It lets you import your save. You get all different items. You start off at level like 40 in the second game, so your skills are there. You don't level 1 at all. Like, it's a true carryover. They absolutely made that game in mind, saying like, this is obviously a sequel, but not in the same sense that a sequel level 1 you and sort of set you apart and kind of let you build into it. It just, you're in. That's it. Like, it just starts. So it's been interesting to play. I find the story very good still. Playing with turbo mode, which lets you speed up the whole game, has been really a blessing. So like going through dungeons has been kind of like Final Fantasy 12, where you just kind of rapid fire through them. But since Trails has like a really good XP system and scaling of XP, it's really fun just to go battle, and like see your characters fly up in levels. So there's that. I've been enjoying it, but I don't really have much to say on it other than it's solid. It's definitely not for everyone, though. I'm realizing that more and more. I don't know why Trails fans are raving about this thing. Like, it is the saving grace of gaming, because it is definitely niche after beating the first one and now moving to the second one, which, you know, like doesn't really change a lot. It's good. I'm sure what I'm going to learn probably is that 3 is probably the best starting point for people, because that's where they took like 3 years to make that game, and it actually has a budget. But that's what I'm playing. That's what I've been up to. Now, let's go ahead and get into the news, gentlemen.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, of course, the same day we're recording this show, Xbox's boss, Phil Spencer, dropped a very interesting interview here on Kotaku, from all things ranging to what's happening with Bethesda, to the Series X, to Halo Infinite and its current status. Obviously, we will want to begin things with Bethesda. That was the big acquisition just a couple of weeks ago. At this point in time, a lot of people are still wondering, is this going to be a Xbox, are their games going to be Xbox exclusive? So let's kick this off. The article says, it's odd to talk how a console maker about launching 2 consoles at once, but it's even stranger to be talking to them about a game company they just bought for $7.5 billion. In September, Microsoft said it was buying ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda, id, and other top-flight studios that make the likes of Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and Doom. Scroll down just a little bit. Previous interviews from Phil Spencer said that the existing deals involving ZeniMax games would still be honored, suggesting something like the time-traveling game Deathloop would still come first to PS5 as previously announced. Beyond that, though, fans have wondered whether ZeniMax games would go Xbox and PC only. In other words, they've wondered if PlayStation would stop getting, say, a Fallout or a Elder Scrolls game. Now, he was asked one of the biggest softball questions of all time. Is it possible to recoup a $7.5 billion investment if you don't sell Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation? Which Spencer quickly replies saying yes, which, you know, he's not going to say no. Let's be honest. That's what I mean by softball. Fortunately, Phil Spencer, being Phil Spencer, actually went more in depth on his question. He goes, I don't want to be flip about that. This deal was not done to take games away from another player base like that. Nowhere in the documentation that we put together was, quote, how do we keep other players from playing these games, end quote. We want more people to be able to play games, not fewer people to be able to play games. But I'll also say in the model, I'm just answering directly the question that you had. When I think about where people are going to be playing and the number of devices that we had, and we have xCloud and PC and Game Pass and our console base, I don't have to go ship those games on any other platform other than the platforms that we support in order to make the kind of deal work for us. Whatever that means. That's not my own words, by the way. Whatever that means is from Phil. So, gentlemen, we'll start off with that. We'll get into the Halo Infinite stuff afterwards. What do you make of Phil's comments for beginning here with Xbox and Bethesda, and saying that he doesn't have to bring other games to platforms, but at the same time, he also says in that very same sentence that he doesn't want to wall people off. Whoever would like to go first.
Go ahead.
I don't know. Though this is just getting so interesting to me because it's clear that Microsoft does not want to say the answer to this.
Very ambiguous, yeah.
Which it's I'm trying not to dance around my opinion here because I know that there's some people that are so like it's definitely going to be exclusive or they're definitely not going to be, which first of all, if you have an opinion about that that's that strong, there's no way of directly knowing at this point, especially when we're getting this kind of messaging. Like I don't know. I guess I don't know where I'm going with this just because like I'm just so confused why they would be so mixed about it, other than they want to have the allure of like, hey, well, we're not going to tell you if these games are going to be exclusive or not, so get an Xbox Series X to get them. And maybe the plan is that they will be exclusive, but they don't want to piss people off before the console comes out. I don't know. There's like so many different optical ways to look at this situation. So I don't know why. Let's see who wrote this article here. Who did the interview? Yeah, why didn't he just ask him? I mean, maybe he did, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't answer that on the record." And so that's like the best answer that he could get from Phil. But I don't know. What do you guys think as far as the weird mixed messaging at this point?
Karak's eyes are popping out of his head. I think he needs to go.
I just don't think it's weird. I mean, I said it in Maddie's Discord. This is like literally PR 101. This is exactly what they were going to do. I think it was almost like a day after the event came. I was like, be prepared for them walking it slowly back. Like that is how it works. We could magically pretend that Microsoft is going to do something no other company has done. And that's buy it and then just be like, free for all. No reason for us to buy this. It's not going to happen. It will never happen. And I would disagree and say, I mean, I get that nobody absolutely knows, but I will just say that I disagree in the fact that my opinion is absolutely for sure the big titles will not be out and about for everybody else. They just
to be fair, you were saying though that Microsoft has never done any like to do something that other companies haven't done. They have though, as far as Game Pass saying, hey, we're going to give you all of our exclusives for $10, $15 a month. And also all of our exclusives are no longer exclusive to our console itself, but also on PC.
I mean, On Live had that. Genki had that. It's not new.
But they're not Microsoft though.
But then we're getting into the thing where suddenly the decision will not be equal because the company is a different size, which isn't the same thing.
Right. And
so the action or the company size, there has to be a filter for the discussion. And the filter for the discussion is, are they going to spend $7.5 billion and then be like, yep, everybody can have it? No, they're not. And no, they're not. They won't. It won't happen. And it won't happen with those games. Will it happen with smaller games? Absolutely. But I can guarantee you there's 3 ways Microsoft wins, depending on the 3 levels they go. The lowest way they win is they own them, and whatever profits they make on any platforms are theirs. Second, which is what I think some people maybe don't know the tech specs, but they're sort of hoping is what's going to happen, is combination of the first and the fact that Microsoft now makes sure that all Obsidian, Bethesda, and those 13 companies' titles are made best on Xbox consoles, which is, of course, the way it would work. First-party consoles, first-party games. That is the way it will work. In the future, the minimum you can guarantee is that those games will be made primarily to suit the hardware. You're not going to see games there that primarily suit PS5's extra SSD speed, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So that's the minimum that will happen technically for sure. There's scientifically that will happen. And then the third is that Microsoft says, play the games on our systems, which fits into exactly what he said, which is more people, but that also includes that they are new in streaming, and that will be the more people. It will not be the PS5. Because technically, another thing, when he says more, I believe that what Phil is actually saying is more as in people who just aren't playing them right now. Not only the people who are playing them, he wants those PS5 people to come to the Xbox, but he's also talking about these people who've never played them before, like an iOS guy, on your phone. It's 5 stages of grief right now. And it's going to be that way for like fans of systems or users of systems that aren't Xbox. But Microsoft wins no matter what, because it's also on PC. They just win. Yeah. And that's what he means by the 7.5, by the way, because they'll win now on Steam, they'll win on Windows, they'll win on Xbox. So no matter what, they win in that way. I think that's the big thing, that they'll win no matter what. But this is something that isn't really surprising. Also, I do have to say, I like Phil. But you should never, ever, 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 ever answer a question by discussing how your contract works, because he is, while being and pointing out...
Sorry, I don't know that.
Alexa disagrees.
She doesn't know the answer of this exclusivity.
While being truthful, he's pointing out something that would be impossible. He is stating, within the contract, in no way, shape, or form does anything within our purchase contract state that you can't do your games on other systems. He's actually correct, because that is a purchase contract, which would not state that, because you now own that company. There is no contract in the world that's ever been written up that says we are fully going to buy you. Oh, also, you can't do this other stuff. And we want to stop you from doing other stuff. That's not it. It is a purchase contract. And the purchase contract is completely different. And that's why he's able to say, in no way, shape, or form, in any way in our contract, do we state this and this and this. It's because what he's stating is, in no contract in the world would that, and that ever be written out if it's a purchase contract. It's completely asinine. And it's a very smart way of getting out of it, because a lot of people who don't know contract writing would look at that and be like, oh, well, he's saying this, but what he's not at all. You don't have to really be burned to know that fire burns things. And what he's doing is he's answering stuff in a way that makes it sound very technical and it makes it sound very blah, blah, blah. But what he's actually stating is an impossibility right away. That it just wouldn't be in a contract. That would never be in a contract to state that. So him stating we for sure didn't have that would also be, I guess, a one of a kind if it did. If it did state that, it would be one of a kind. And it would also sort of be a weird way of telling somebody they can't do something they know they already can't do. Like, it's owned by Microsoft. And, we see the same thing where they're like, oh, we want these companies to do what they want, right? That makes sense. Just like when I have an employee who works for me and I say, you know what? Say the greeting on the telephone the way you want. But guess what you're still saying? You still have to say the greeting. You can say it the way you want, but you still have to greet somebody.
So it's kind of like, to simplify, the idea is Microsoft buys them, and they're not going to write in, say, the contract, you can't make games on PlayStation, but they make the call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes,
all right.
It's like, it's legit. And I have written contracts that are big, not personally, like I'm the only one, but you have groups. By the way, there is no only one who writes contracts that big. You have 20 or 30 lawyers. It doesn't make any sense. And so the way he answered it was really intelligent, but you guys were saying, why would they do that? First of all, we already know the way they handled Private Division and the way they handled the other. What's the walking game where you all look like fucking marionettes? The white faces from Private Division.
We Happy Few?
We Happy Few. Certain things are said until those contracts are expired. And that's because you also don't want to affect other contracts. Basically, Microsoft could be held liable if they were to say something that would then be considered to in some way affect the sales of something else that was already in place. That's pretty typical business speech. Right. So a company CEO is held to very specific things if there's older contracts that are continued legacy, which Microsoft has been very clear. Any legacy contracts pretty much that are already fully established are in place. We know for a fact Starfield's was not in place because we know for a fact Sony, less than 2 weeks prior, was trying to buy exclusivity of Starfield for Sony. So if they were able to try to work that out, then we know for a fact those contracts on that particular game, is open. But yeah. I don't see anything really crazy about what he said. I agree with you guys. People should ask questions, but I also agree there's no chance, right? There's no chance he walked in there without softball questions being written out for him.
That's true. I feel like it's just that continuous careful dance of like, what is exclusivity if it's on multiple systems, right? Can you really say it is exclusive in the terms that I think most people have approached it, Xbox, PlayStation, if your content is available on 3 total devices? You know, are you really... I think what he's doing as well is sort of playing the game of like, the word game, right? Of, well, it's not really exclusive because we have so many options for you to access this content, and certainly more than we've seen on any other Nintendo, on PlayStation. You know, we've certainly seen more options come from Microsoft, so it's not like he's wrong. It's just, I think it's that continuous dance of, we're on so many devices. It's not really the exclusivity you think it is. I just personally think, guys? Like, continue. No, sorry. You're fine. Yeah, I just think it's you can't get a definitive answer out of this, especially like Dustin said, with the way the messaging is here. There's no clear message, but I think it's almost that kind of like nudge of like what they're clearly going to do. I also do think that a lot of this stuff is probably decided in marketing, right? You got to imagine a lot of the games that we're thinking of, an Elder Scrolls, a Starfield, a Doom 3, Wolfenstein 3. I imagine in the marketing, that is probably where the type of level of exclusivity is, I think, would be discussed, right? I'm not 100% sure. I just feel like when it's a game that could be working on both systems, that's where those rights come in to be purchased. I could be entirely wrong. We did, however, see just last week it leaked. Now it's official. The Arcane Collection, the alternate history collection for both Wolfenstein and along with Prey and Dishonored all together, are getting actually these brand new like compilations that are only are exclusive next gen wise to the Series X. Outside of that, no PS5. It is on PS4, but no PS5. I'm wondering if that's another avenue Microsoft might be taking, saying, okay, you'll get your PS5 version, right? Because like right now it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's like, okay, I can still play on PS4, but once we move into the new generation, then having no PS5 version hurts a little bit more.
I also think
it's worth considering.
I think all that's true. I'd forgotten about that. I didn't even know those were exclusive. I mean, it makes sense. I was just going to say that I think also overall, when you look at this, people are really expecting one company to act nothing like the other companies. Sony's by his exclusivity. They're buying exclusivity. We know that. Nintendo's done it. All these companies are going out for a particular thing, and we've just lived through it too many times. Too many. I froze. Am I still going on yours?
You're good on our end, man. This is great. This
reason.
2 for 2. You're good.
Yeah. But I think that that's a big thing. I also think there is a possibility that if Sony were to pay, because remember, Sony has to now deal with Microsoft, which has got to be weird. But there is the possibility that Sony is going to foot an amount to get either day and date or 6-9 months later. I do see Microsoft doing deals more than Sony for some reason. I do see Microsoft, because they've done their Ori and a couple others. I could see them saying, okay, in 6-9 months, you can have this game on your system. I still don't think it'll be the big games, but I could definitely see them trying that, depending.
Well,
hopefully they support mods more, right? That's the big plus to me, is if Microsoft said, okay, now that you guys are Bethesda's doing ours first, let's lock mods in. Because, guys, if console mods became a thing, that would be a killer app, I think, to most people.
I agree. Let's see here. He also talked a little bit about Halo Infinite. This part of the article I glossed over, so I apologize if this contains a lot of reading. Halo Infinite was going to be the Series X/S big launch game. It's all over the Xbox's marketing and its retail box, which has now leaked as people have seen it on pallets. But the game was delayed in August, a month after Microsoft showed it running for the first time. Spencer told me he played Infinite a week ago, but had no update right now about when it'll be out. There are also no release dates or time frames for other promised Xbox Series S/X games, including Rare's Everwild, Playground Games' new Fable, nor the console port of this summer's highly regarded Microsoft Flight Simulator. Continuing on, I asked if Microsoft would consider offering Halo Infinite's campaign at a different time than the multiplayer if one is complete before the other. Bonnie, Ross, head of the Halo franchise, and the team will drive those decisions, Spencer said. But I think we want to make sure people feel like they have a Halo experience. This is fucking Phil's favorite quote, I swear to God, to the experience. I think we can look at options like that. He said any decision like that would have to factor in the structure of the game and the story it's telling. So yeah, I think that's something to think about, but we want to make sure we do it right. Okay, so it's the next step of our discussion here. Halo Infinite could potentially, like they're open to it, at least Phil's open to it if the team wanted to do it, splitting the game up, releasing it in 2 parts, especially because we learned before launch that the multiplayer was free to play. So we're also going to see with Cyberpunk the potential of release your single player portion first,
right,
then your multiplayer. We're seeing with The Last of Us Part 2, single player, then factions. So I feel like it's not too far-fetched of an idea to suggest that maybe Halo gets its single player first. What do you guys think about that part?
I don't know. I think it's kind of... I don't know if it would be a good idea to split it up. Because I don't know. It just feels...
Halo is multiplayer, man.
I guess. I don't know. It just feels like it kind of, once one comes out, it will diminish the release of the other, potentially.
Good point.
But I don't know. I have such a bad feeling about this game at this point. I mean,
yeah.
I guess the fact that it's delayed is obviously a good thing. That will give them time to sort it out. But I'm just wondering, since it was delayed, I think it's... playing devil's advocate with myself, it's probably good that they're just going dark until they're ready to show it off or talk about it again to, make them not look bad. But
right.
Yeah, I don't personally like the idea of splitting them up just because, I don't know, I like to be able to hop between the two, at least with previous Halo games is what I've done, but I don't know.
What about you, Karak? What do you make of it?
I just don't track us much anymore when it comes to Halo. They failed utterly on like the Master Chief Collection. Oh, and even the add-ons with the bad audio, and I've just really stepped away from like even knowing what they're doing. And the fact that they got this far to show it on a stage and somebody didn't say, dude, I mean, I don't personally feel it looks like bad, but it doesn't look Halo good, even though Halo good never looked as good as other games. Halo, to me, was never about, like, flashy graphics. It was about atmosphere, the worlds, physics, unique weapons, but it never... I don't know if it's just me, but other than Halo 3, I don't remember ever thinking Halo was leading the charge on graphics. It was leading the charge on look of the world and the... something, I don't know, that the X Factor, they have no X Factor right now. And so they were showing it. I'm just, dude, they really have lost a lot of my confidence because I don't know how they got to this point. How do you get to this point without like if I was a gamer in there, maybe there's not a Steve. I always joke about there being a Steve, but maybe there's not a Steve in their development team who's always raising his hand going like, should we fucking be doing this? Like, yeah. How I mean, I don't know about you guys, but most of the time I am that person who's like, dude, this is... And I've been shouted down before, but it's like at some point somebody would have saw that on a projector in Microsoft somewhere and been like, dude, that's dump. Like, that's dump. Who thought this was even acceptable ever to show on a stage floor without the thought process of delaying it? I agree with Dustin and you that going dark makes sense. I would like them to go totally dark on this and move, and this is my assumption, is that they're moving other titles, including Forzas and stuff like that, up as their premiere. We're going to push Forza, switching out Halo and doing a Forza package for the Xbox, that kind of stuff. I would like them to go dark until the X Factor's back. And I don't know if that's Bonnie or the old Halo director they rehired last month when the original creator of Halo, they rehired to help them. And I think that that's probably... let them figure their shit out. Also, I'm the only one here who's not a huge fan of the multiplayer. I actually believe that the multiplayer caught on because the single player was so amazing. And it caused people to be entertained and interested in Master Chief and, using those guns because they tried them in single player. You wouldn't have tried the Needler in the multiplayer or anything if there had been no single player. There wouldn't be a reason to even do it. So to me, I'm I want them to be together, but I want the single player to take the initiative, like the lead, and I don't think it has. I don't think it has in two gens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe since Reach, or I don't think 4 did. I think Reach and 5 were both driven by their multiplayer. Almost like you could sense they were caring more about that. Just throwing it together.
Halo, I mean, it's clear that they have a bit of a, maybe I said this on this show,
Identity
sorry.
crisis?
Yeah, they have a really bad identity crisis because they either modernize the game and move away from the arena style multiplayer, or they stay the exact same way that it's been, and no matter what they do, they're going to piss off somebody. Yeah. So, because I know that like when they did that reveal and like Master Chief sprinted, there was reaction videos. I was like, come on.
That was so funny. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a really difficult, line to walk because it's weird. When I think about this game, it's like I kind of am in both camps that I'm like, keep it the same, but also change. Like, I don't know what I really want.
Keep it the same, but change it so it doesn't feel old.
Right. I don't know what I want from Halo at this point. Like, I don't know if the direction they were taking it as far as 4 and 5 is the right direction, but yeah.
Don't you guys also feel that they don't, like when you saw that reveal, they didn't know what they were. Like, I'm okay with them telling me what Halo is, and then I'll respond, like if I agree with it. But they didn't know, and you hit the nail on the head when you were like, the sprint thing. If fans had come at me and been like, it's got a sprint, I fucking hate it, I'd be like, bitch, go play something else. We're going to make it, and I want you to see it when it's day and date. If you refuse to play this game because of sprint, I don't know what to say. That's probably not the fan we want. If somebody's going to try it and at least see, that's the fan I want. And Microsoft on Halo seems to be nervous of their fandom. Like, nervous to piss anybody off. And instead, I would throw it on its just on its side and be like, this is what we're doing. But I agree with you, the arena, I forgot. The arena thing probably needs to be, because it does feel a little, not old, but not new. It's right. You're right.
Well,
I don't even know how to describe it.
And that's the thing. People are so trained now that your multiplayer games have progression systems in them, specifically thanks to Call of Duty. So how does Halo keep people hooked without a progression system? At least that ties to your gameplay.
Imagine if the multiplayer is free to play for everyone. They have to have some progression system planned, yeah.
Right. The question is how that progression system, does it affect gameplay? And if so, how does it? Because the more you incorporate that, the less it the less that arena style that the hardcore fan base really wants will no longer be present. So, that's the thing is I don't know the answer to that. I would make
the argument that with 4 and 5, they did try, at least for the franchise DNA, some pretty substantial changes, especially in 5. You ditch Chief, you add sprinting, you make it a lot more of like as close as you can to Call of Duty. I'd argue they tried to change and that people kind of wanted to go back to basics, and that when they sprinted in the campaign, that was like a fuck you, we're not fucking doing that shit, and we're going to do what we want, which I think is good, because at the end of the day, if fans don't know what they want, it's up to them to just make something, right? And I think that might be a strong position to be in. Some people, I agree with your idea of an identity crisis. I think it's like, if at that point you just go, fuck it, man, like let's just make a cool Halo game. And what is Halo to us now? What can we make into Halo, right? Like, I think part of the reason 1, 2, and 3 worked in its arena style, not only because we didn't know what was to come, but, for example, you don't have sprint, so, like, the map design was very meticulous, right? Like, you couldn't get to the sniper quicker than someone, or the rocket launcher quicker than someone, or the plasma pistol, which you could charge and do, like, a follow-up punch. These power weapons that you can find on the map, you couldn't get there, and they were spawned in particular places, and then spawn points for when you died and came back based off positioning on the map was very particular. So, I would argue that speeding it up probably hurt it to try to modernize, and that they should go back to basics, which they seem to understand, at least art style wise. I got a vibe of that with the demo. I am in full agreement that they should take their time and just go dark. At the same time, I don't think it would be bad if they launched with just the campaign. I think if anything, it might give them an idea of what people liked in the campaign. And another thing that I considered, and a lot of people mentioned, but we don't know if it's true yet, is if, say, the sprinting's in the campaign. I mean, you're in an open world area. Is sprinting going to be in the multiplayer? I mean, Halo, one of the best parts about Halo multiplayer to me is the multiple modes. I would love just a no sprint playlist. That's all they got to do, man. Then you've got something for everybody, and I think that's great for Halo on its own part. You know, because like I said, they've tried with big team battles and shit. I think as long as you let people make their custom maps and modes and go crazy with it and engage in that part of the playlist, like I think Halo 3, when it came to Steam, I'm pretty sure they took like a fan racing mode that was made, and they took a bunch of fan modes, and they're like now a part of the official playlist. If they kind of just keep their ear to the ground in the community, I think they can just dig into that and engage with that. And that just requires them to be confident in themselves and just make something, man. They're paid to make games, right? Like, do it.
I would love for them to do also is bite the bullet. You're going to face some people like me, like looking at the fiction and being like, the fuck are you talking about? But I personally believe that the reason why we talk a lot about 3, 2, and 1, and many times Reach, many times ODST, is because they focus pretty much on the Covenant and the Flood, which are, I have no issue with the enemies from 4, the Tron enemies. I actually like them, but they don't have the same mystique. And I think that I want the Halo 1 exploration, and if you told me, no lie, if you told me this new Halo was going to be just you landing on another ring, I would be totally fine with that.
I kind of thought that's what it was. I'm not gonna lie.
And I would be like, okay, great. It's the fucking Covenant and Flood again, and they're in certain spots, and we got to battle it through, and we got to figure out what's going on. And I think they get lost. You mentioned something. I remember playing, and I think was it 5 where the Didac shows up. The fucking just dumbass. He shows up. You didn't even know who he was unless you read the novels. Like, that's brain dead. Whoever put that in the game, they legitimately somebody should have checked them and been like, guys, this is an echo chamber. If they didn't read the novels, they wouldn't even know why this guy's that special. Yeah, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right. And then removing the Master Chief. That was also a big mistake because they removed the heart of what people cared about. People do like John because he's there, but he's not really there. He's the stoic guy who's like, we'll figure it out no matter what. And that's what a lot of people like.
He's a badass, right? Like,
but he's never America. He's just a badass. You say we have an issue and what are we doing? He's like, I'll be there and we'll figure it out. That's the thing. They've lost that. And I would be okay if they were just like, yeah, man, fucking the new one. There's another fucking group of Flood. We're calling them the badass Flood, and they're here and they're shooting at us, and I'd be like, all right, man, let's do this. Because to me, those guys are just pretty iconic. Seems like they move the best as well. That's another thing these guys like to do, is they like to mess around with enemies who move a certain way. I think the Flood and the Covenant were a perfect mix of biological and technical, and biological and futuristic bad guys, and then you add in the techno-tron guys, which I thought were cool, but they just didn't feel like they were a part of the world. Something about the Flood coming out of the fucking tubes. And so you're fighting the Covenant, who are in where you are, and you sort of know where they're coming from. And then suddenly Flood are coming out of tubes, and your brain is like, oh, that's different. It was a mix of those two movement modes and those two places where enemies could come from that just hasn't really been replicated.
I have a suggestion for Halo Infinite. Not fighting the same fucking boss 8 times. Like in Halo, in Halo 5,
was it Didac, or was it somebody else?
I'm trying to remember. I remember having to fight the same boss, like probably 3 or 4 times.
I don't even remember, man. It's been so long.
That's the thing. There really wasn't a boss in 1, 2, and 3, right? And in ODST, like
I think it was 2. Or was it 3? There was a boss where you had to like leap on its head and you like just punch the shit out of someone. Like they were sitting in, they were like MODOK, and you just like beat the shit out of them.
Is that the Hive Mind or the Grave Mind or?
I don't know which Halo is from. I know Halo 2. Spoiler here. I know, actually, not really a spoiler. At the end, there wasn't really like a boss. It was like a lot of enemies. Right. I thought that was different. Because
remember, that was different, and remember that was done because they cut it. Because that ending was budgetary. And you jump in and you grab the bomb, right? And go out with the bomb, and that's it. They're just like, it ends on a weird note, which actually felt, now that we play it, and you play 3, and how 3 starts with you smashing into the ground in your little evac suit. It's like
Trails 1 and 2. It's just...
Dude, right on over. Except with 3, what was cool is he landed, and like Johnson's like, oh, it's the Master Chief, let's unfreeze him. And then you're in battle. That's another thing I think the Halo games are starting to lose their in-battle startings. Where it's like, you maybe have 4 or 5 minutes, but then it's like you're just sort of off on your own. And I think the later ones didn't feel as good.
I will say one thing I was thinking of when you guys were talking about creature design is, like, I always remember as a kid, and maybe it was because I was younger, but I remember playing, I think it was Mission 6, maybe. It was one of the middle missions in Halo 1's campaign where you discover the Flood. And I just remember, like, you're in this fucking soaked swamp, and it's just you're finding bodies, and you're like, this isn't the Covenant. Like, the way these people are mangled.
And is that level called the Library?
No. Library is the terrible one that's all in a line, and
it's like after
people get it shit.
It's not a good level, but I remember really being freaked out by that level playing it.
And I was just thinking, like, the way they delicately handled that.
Made it introduction.
It made it feel a lot, especially because you're used to just, all right, humans versus aliens, here we go. Right. And then suddenly you have these things on all fours just like leaping at you with like bodies that are sliced in half, but you could see the legs of the soldier that you
or the Covenant, remember, because
that
could take over the Covenant. Yeah,
that too. Yes, and so then you'll notice sometimes those little like cheese balls that will like jump on
ribbies.
They jump on like a fellow Marine or an alien. You see them start taking them over. You're like, holy shit! Like there isn't an enemy on that level of interaction. The brutes are really good, I think, because they're heavies, right? They come at you. You're like, I gotta fucking pump everything into this guy. The Covenant are just iconic. I think they just work off their legacy. But you don't have something like that in these new ones, right? I think the Prometheans just didn't have that level of oomph they needed. I don't even remember what the fuck was in 5. I think a big part of it is their creature design. Now, based off how Halo Wars 2 ended, I don't think anything's going to be changed or added in. I think it's going to mainly be on the brutes, which isn't really a bad thing, but I think that's a major part that's hurting is you don't have these enemies that shock you or force you to play different. You just don't.
Well, Matty, I think you're right, and I think I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I think Halo 2, one of Halo 2's huge missteps was letting you play as Arbiter. Even if it was fun, I don't need to know that much about the enemy. And what was happening was they removed the mystique of the enemy. And the scariest bad guys are not the bad guys who kill a bunch of people to me. They're the guy who shows up and who looks like he doesn't need to. When that dude walks in the room, I'm like, wait, what? Like, if he walks in the room and all this weird shit's happening, he's like, hello. I'm like, all right, that guy's the guy you want to watch out for. You don't watch out for the guy who's the murderer because you're like, he's the fucking murderer. There's nothing mysterious about that. And when you played as the Arbiter, and I know people loved playing as the Arbiter, but when you play as the Arbiter, it took everything out of the Covenant. So when the Covenant was attacked by the Flood, I was like, okay, the badasses are getting badder-assed. Like, the Flood are killing the Covenant. What is happening? And that was scary to me. Or not scary, but you get my drift. It was like, that was mysterious. And they lost the mystery, and they tried to replace it with the Didac, which was a terrible idea. They tried to replace it with the Prometheans, which those guys have been ripped from every RPG that you've ever played in your life. Mass Effect, everything. There's always the ancient race, ancienter than the ancient ones you already anciented about. And you're just like, oh, seriously? So that's why, dude, do you know what I would like is for them to be like, here's the story. The Covenant all get together and decide they hate the Prometheans, they hate the Flood, they hate humans. They've got together some secret hidden army, and they're just coming to destroy humans. And you're like, all right, great. And just go that way. Because I also don't think they're good storytellers. I know that people hate that, but I just don't think Bungie's storytelling in the cutscenes is very good. And they tried to get their novels and all this shit, and they tried to have it all these different ways with their TV shows. And I think the mystery and the novelty wore off. And how do you get it back? Like, how do you?
Yeah, it's true. And I guess that's where the multiplayer kicks in, right? Good discussion.
Well, yeah, true.
Right, it just comes to that, right? It's like, okay, well, this may be decent, but, and then they kind of misstep with that, and here we are.
Also, am I the only one who didn't? No. I did not like Reach, and one of the reasons why is because I don't like multiple Master Chiefs. Master Chief, he was also special, and they continue to take everything special and neuter it, and flatten it, and balance it out. And sometimes I think that's just bad for... I mean, I get that people love Reach, but I just don't know if it helped the narrative.
I would argue that they were probably pretty aware that they were running out of steam. Based off that idea alone. I think now that you say that, because I know the story hit home for a lot of people and it was like really emotional, and it's a great story, I think. But I think you saying that kind of just like clicked in my head. I'm like, I wonder if that's why they were just like, we're done after this. Everyone's like, what? We want Halo. There was a company, it was Karak, I think you talked about how they just have like a good feeling of when to move on. I think it was Sucker Punch. Was it Karak? No, I think it was Colin. Was it?
That was something Colin said.
That was Colin. Yeah,
maybe
I heard
Chris.
it in his show. Yeah, I remember him saying like they always had a good feeling of when to move on, right? Like Sly Cooper when they moved on.
Yeah, you just cut the ties and move on.
Yeah, Sly 4 comes out and it doesn't light the world on fire, even though I thought it was a really good game. Like that's true. And so I feel like maybe Bungie had that moment there where they were like, let's go make Destiny, right? And like, yeah, I guess they made the right choice at the end of the day because now Halo's just struggling to stay above water. I will say, though, if that rumor were to have ever been true of like Bungie and Xbox getting back together, I think a lot of what excited people about Halo was Bungie. If anyone heard like, oh, Bungie's back making Halo, I think the world would just be like, holy shit, like the people who made 1 through 3 and Reach and ODST are back. Like, you know, there's just so much nostalgia value in that. And if Pokemon card prices are anything to go off of, that is insanely valuable.
I have no clue what that comparison was, but I like it.
Well, because I've been looking at the Pokemon cards, right? And they are insanely high priced. And what I'm saying is it's just because people have nostalgia for them. And I'm just saying there's value there. It may have seemed off the wall. It was forced,
I was admit. Fucking way off the wall, but now it makes sense. I get you.
I just blew the audience's mind.
You did. Right now, people are just sitting back, baked, right? They're all, what the fuck?
Someone just fell out of their chair like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
All right, let's move on into our next bit of news. Good little write-up by Kotaku there. Would recommend giving it a read. Our next bit is about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which has officially gone gold. They had tweeted out... Why did the web page reset on my phone? We're extremely proud to share that Assassin's Creed Valhalla has gone gold on behalf of everyone working on the game. We can't wait to see how your own Viking saga unfolds. Your journey starts on November 10th, so a week before Cyberpunk. This was October 16th. Today, as we record, it was confirmed that they went gold. This is just under a month ahead of launch, so they're done. They're done pretty far ahead of schedule here, I would say, which is a good thing. I'm sure they're still working on a day one patch, but this may not be the most significant news to people, but I'm really looking forward to Valhalla. Karak, I know you played a lot of it. I was invited to the sessions to play I think it was Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed for like a bunch of hours, and I just thought to myself, I already previewed them once. I liked them both. I'm just going to wait for the full game. With the build you played, Karak, did you feel like there was a nice gold stamp on there?
That's a good question. I didn't think you were going to ask it that way. Yeah.
You think it's ready?
Very much so. Yeah, very much.
Nice.
We're talking technical, like complete.
Yeah, just how it felt.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a good. That's a good way of putting it, because I think people don't realize that like performance, ignoring bugs, performance does impact, like how you enjoy it. Even if you have a micro stutter here or there. Bloodborne I've talked about, like I wanted to like it, but I was having issues with that micro stutter and that affected me. And yeah, performance-wise. I don't know what machines they're running, though, Matty. I should make sure I'm clear.
That's true.
I don't know what machines they're running. I'm running a 2080. I would assume they're running 3080s, just because it's a big company. Yeah. I do want to also shout out, and I rarely do this, but you guys, I did a video, and I'm actually pretty proud of it, even though everybody hated it. I did a preview on Valhalla, and I said, is the magic gone? And the reason why I discussed it wasn't to do clickbait. It's because, and you guys can certainly answer this, because I don't know the answer. This is just what I've been worried about. They got about 12 iterations, I think, of Assassin's Creed prior to the big switch. I'm including the 2D games. I'm including the Vita-only Liberation, Rogue, right? So if you add it all together, let's say 10. They had about 10 iterations. And in the last 3, I think, is when we started hearing a lot of, this is repetitive, blah, blah, blah. So they went to Origins, and then they went to Odyssey. And my question to everybody right now is, or not my question, my worry is that I personally feel they won't have as many iterations built into fans and fan love as they did prior. And they probably only have Valhalla until people start also wanting more of a Switch. But what I mean by that is, in the past they got through because they were so unique, and they hinged on that uniqueness, and they got about 10. And now they've got 3 huge ones, including, I think, Odyssey's big bonus is the DLC is so big, but that also means people played it more, and that repetitiveness comes up. Valhalla feels very much like Odyssey. And I'm wondering if, other than maybe a get-out-of-jail-free card with a Japanese-based one, but I still think they go up against Ghost of Tsushima and they lose horrendously. Do they have a get-out-of-jail-free card, or is this the time where we see another big switch, and what would that switch be? And the reason why I say that is because I love these games. I have a blast. But if you told me I am tired of Valhalla because it feels like Odyssey or Origins, I would not at all argue with you. I still think they're a blast, most always worth the money, high production values. In no way, shape, or form could I tell you were wrong if you said they're starting already to feel alike. Mm-hmm. And I'm a bit nervous about that, because I think Ubisoft's in 2 places on that, Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed. I think both of those games are at their end of their cycle.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
What are we going to do?
I especially felt that with Watch Dogs, because you can really feel like they tripled down on just sandbox, right? Like I think they threw the story out the window. They said, just here is a bunch of tools, go crazy. And that is fun, but that is not a lasting formula. I never thought about Assassin's Creed like that. I guess I thought because of their sidestep into the RPG that maybe they'd be okay. I guess the only thing I could say is if they really just go in and make it like as hardcore of an RPG, like just throw the open world out the window and just make Assassin's Creed an RPG series. I mean, I am biased. I love RPGs, but I'm just saying, like, quite frankly, I guess it's, I don't see Assassin's Creed going away, because there's definitely a demand for it.
Yeah, right.
Not that you were suggesting that, but what kind of change they can make, I would say maybe role-playing. However, this is me saying it without knowing, like, what is the settlement like in this game? Because the way they were promoting, at least, and I know Ubisoft promotion, you can, take it as far as you can throw it. But, I personally think they were saying how it was very core to the decisions you made, and like people you'd save and quests you'd complete. Like, it would all kind of come back to this one place in a different way from what you saw in Primal with like the village. Like, it seemed like a much more evolved version of that. So I say that without knowing about that. I remember one thing that really stuck out to me was, Karak, when you and I were talking about our experiences on Valhalla, and we had like completely different outcomes in the main story, in some of our side content. So I think maybe there's an invisible element there where two people buy the game, they come together, they talk, which always happens. And when you have that moment of just, it's the coolest thing ever. You have 2 different experiences from the same game. You go like, what? That happened with you? And
almost nothing's equal to that feeling.
Right? It's really hard to really take that and make it into something where it's like, well, something needs to change. Like, that is almost a magic there. But I don't even know if it's a setting thing anymore. I think it's no doubt they make great worlds. They make like interesting exploration. I think the most interesting thing they could do, coming from an enthusiast, is scrapping the open world, because then you can't have the climb the tall thing or look for the waypoints. You can't have any of that. You have to make a completely different game. So that would be, you want to change the magic, change the formula, go back to an annual formula, but make them like 20-hour games that are much more like replayable RPGs. That would be really cool. I don't ever see that happening, but I think that would be cool.
Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't previewed this game like you guys have, so I don't have a lot to add. I'll probably just let you guys cover it, because honestly, I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, Assassin's Creed does not really appeal to me at all. I played Assassin's Creed 2 through Black Flag all the way through. And all the other ones post that I dabbled in, and they just don't grab me. And I don't know really what the reason is behind that, because I know that they're good games. I have no, I'm not saying that they're bad at all.
No, I get it.
I just don't know if it's just like I want a more fantastical experience at this point, just as far as my personal taste. So I don't know. I was thinking on whether or not I wanted to give Valhalla a go. I actually originally had a code for it from a graphics card when I built Colin's PC, and I traded it to get Horizon on PC. So,
gotcha.
Oh wait, yours ran well though, right?
Yeah, actually, it runs awesome on the 3080. But
I didn't have near the technical issues as other people did either. So
yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to speak from ignorance.
I will say, from Matty's point, it's weird you mentioned Primal, because I mentioned that in the review, but my thought or the preview. But my thought process is that Ubisoft is so afraid. They're so afraid of a couple things. One, they're absolutely mortified of a dead moment in their games. Mortified. So Ghost of Tsushima comes out and says, guess what? Every moment's dead. The only moments that'll be action are the moments that are going to matter. The rest of the time, you're naked in water bathing. And that's why it worked.
So true, bro.
It's why it worked.
Yeah,
because
so
I got
true.
shit for playing the flute and sitting naked in a bath. It's never happened in a game before. It's like, I don't understand. I'm doing poetry. That's why that game rocks. So then you look, shut up, dog. Then you look at these Assassin's Creed games. Primal is a perfect example of Ubisoft being frightened, because Primal Settlement is exactly like Valhalla Settlement, except instead of Primal setting them automatically due to how many people I save, I am able to purchase them due to how many people I save. Every single Assassin's Creed games has a fucking hidden dagger, but they call it something else. And they'll be like, oh, it's not a hidden dagger. What are you talking about? This is prior to the Assassin's Creed. It's a fucking shiv. And you're like, dude, it's a hidden dagger. It works the same fucking way as a hidden dagger always works. And then you jump in and it's like, no, man, it's not eagle vision. It's owl vision. You got a fucking owl. It's marmoset vision. It's at all times. Ubisoft they have to force everything in, because they're so locked into Assassin's Creed. And that's why I think the last game should be the future. No fucking magic matrix shit. And be like, this is the future. Assassins versus Templars. This is the end of the overall arc of Assassin's Creed. That is what I would like for the next game. For them to be like, we are arcing this. We're done. And this is the end. Because we don't know the end yet. Because we're always doing current day animus, current day, researchers going back in time. I would like them to just finish it off and be like, and then do what you said. If they want to do RPGs, fine. But I think Prince of Persia is a test. My firm belief is that Prince of Persia is a litmus test. And if they can some way get Prince of Persia doing well, you will see a definite drop-off in Assassin's Creed. And the Prince of Persia will replace it.
You got to wonder with their change in like overhead management, if that's also going to loosen things up, right? Because a lot of people were coming out and reporting that the reason games felt very much the same was because of the fact that you'd have these overheads that are like, you can't do, like, say, the King Arthur game. You can't do this because it's not marketable. You can't make Cassandra the main protagonist because it's not marketable, even though she was the best character in the game. Like,
no, shut up.
Yeah, what? Wait, I thought I was so convinced you were going to agree with me. I like.
Nah, dude, I hate Cassandra. You know it, man. You and I are going to disagree because I think on Syndicate you may like Evie. I don't like
Syndicate.
Dude, how could you not? I hate you, man. I hate you. How could you not like Syndicate? You like Battlefront Hardline. How do you like that but not like Syndicate?
I like Syndicate. I like Syndicate's world. I just wanted to see if I could get a rise out of you.
You got a rise out of me.
I did.
Anyway.
Man, I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah.
Neither do I.
Overhead at Ubisoft, they're just, they seem very controlling. So hopefully with a lot of change there, maybe things will loosen up. I think you might see change, not even for the sake of like, oh, our franchise is getting stale. I think you may just see change because of like, fuck it, we can do it now. Like,
right.
That's what you may end up seeing is these creatives just, what I'd love to see is them start doing things like Child of Light again, those types of games.
Yeah, true.
I felt like that was a really fun time for Ubisoft.
You played Phoenix, and I think you liked Phoenix, right?
I loved Phoenix.
Rising.
Yeah. That was
dude,
really impressive.
Could it not be the future where if Phoenix goes well, Genshin Impact replaces a little bit of the Breath of the Wild, Phoenix does a little bit of Breath of the Wild, Prince of Persia does a little bit of Assassin's Creed, and suddenly you see Ubisoft dropping Assassin's Creed.
Genshin Impact made me like Phoenix way more.
I sort of have a good guilty time with Genshin.
No, it's not a bad game. It's definitely
great.
not a bad game. But whenever I play it, man, I'm just like,
it's not Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, you could have just let me pay $60, and this would have been so much better for me because I don't have to fight your monetization systems. And a lot of people are like, oh, I never feel compelled to spend. It's like, get deeper in. It never asks you to spend, but it requires copious amounts of grinding, which just like it. The monetization isn't the issue. It's that it's built around the monetization that's the issue. That's what I've always been saying. So that's why I'm even more excited now for Phoenix coming out in December. That'll be a nice little treat at the end of the year.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, man. So I think with that, that's a really good point you brought up. I think maybe you'll see some change with Ubisoft as a whole in maybe 2-3 years. Yeah, so it'll be cool to see. Last bit of news that we're going to cover is Night City Wire number 4. We didn't cover the last Night City Wire that on the podcast because we felt there really wasn't a lot to talk about. There was a lot of PR speak, so we avoided it. This one in particular I thought was very interesting. They showed off a lot of vehicles. They showed off a rampage in the open world of someone just like riding this tiny little car up a stair set and just running people over.
I know exactly the moment you're talking about.
I'm just
it's so weird.
Right? I was just like, wow, that is like the best thing I've seen for this game so far, in my opinion. I'm not even exaggerating either. Like, I love that you can just do that. That's great. They showed off styles, so like pretty much the game's social classes. They broke down the vehicle types. They highlighted that there will be vehicles that work better in, say, the Badlands than the Night City itself. There's street racing that's been confirmed. So more and more the world's filling out, and it was really nice to just see something that, especially when you were seeing the attention to detail that they went to for the audio design in the game, it was just really refreshing to see something not loaded with PR speak, and it got me more excited for the game, other than, this is Night City, and you are V. Welcome to your big adventure, where I'm like, God, just, you're not hyping me up. Stop, man. I fucking hate that shit. So, fortunately, this one was absent of all that. I don't know if you gentlemen, you said earlier, but I already forgot whether or not you tuned in. Do you have any thoughts really on Cyberpunk as a whole? We don't just have to talk about Night City Wire 4, but if you did see that, feel free to begin with that.
Go for it, Dustin. I talked a bunch in the last one.
Yeah, I'll be brief about this one too, just because I think I've said this before. I've gone blackout on this game just because I'm excited to just uncover the layers of depth once it comes out. So it's like, it's fun for me to discover the systems of the game and not have them told to me in certain scenarios. And this is a game I'm excited about. So I've just been kind of, staying away for now. Okay. But yeah, I'm excited about it still. I'm extra excited now because I was like, what if I don't get a 3080 before the game comes out? Because that's one of the things that I really wanted the 3080 for, so I could play it full ray tracing at high frame rate and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
For me, I would say
What is Matty? What are you laughing about?
What are you laughing about? I don't know.
I just called Dustin a nerd.
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
I thought you said, and with that. That's weird.
No, I just like Dustin was like full ray tracing, the highest.
Oh,
frame
and
rate.
you were
I'm
like
just
nerd.
Yeah, I was like nerd, and like the way he looked like annoyed. I was like, did I really piss him off with that?
Dude, I
don't
didn't even
think
hear
he
you say that.
And then when I laughed, you just were like, what the fuck?
I just heard you start laughing for no reason. I was like, did I say something like real stupid?
No.
Dude, you think that's bad? I froze. This is the reason why I keep asking you guys if I'm freezing. I froze in my last podcast in the middle of explaining Tyrannosaurus hands. And so it's people have been
saw
posting
that
on
tweet.
Twitter. Dude, it's hilarious. I mean, and then somebody wrote above it, when a man loves a woman, like I'm singing, because that's what it looked like. So, yeah, I thought you had froze or something, and Maddie was laughing about that. I was so confused.
Sorry about that.
I saw the first of the Night City Wire, right? Is that what it's called? Night City Wire?
Night City. Yep, second one. Yep.
So I watched a little bit of the first one, skipped 2 and 3, and I watched this one, and I don't know why, but graphically, it is a huge step up from what I remember in my last video scene. They were showing him driving a motorbike and looking. Now, again, they're running systems that most people, including reviewers, probably don't have. I would assume they're running the fucking 10, the Intel fucking i10 or whatever the fuck it is, the highest setting. But he's driving, and it looked good frame rate wise, right? It looked awesome. And then he's driving that little tiny car because they're showing the different cars, the low level, the medium level cars, and he grabs that low level car with I think it's missing its wheels. It looks like it's just rolling on its rims. That thing is a POS. And he goes up the steps, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It looked fun, but I think that's because they're finally showing gameplay that's not cultivated perfectly. There's almost like a lack of confidence sometimes where companies are like, we don't want people to see a little bit of the rub off. So we're going to show you this perfectly cultivated moment. And you're just like, I don't buy that. Division. Remember when Division, they're like, we can shut the doors on the car. And you're like, oh my God,
infamous,
we get it. And they tried to show it in every trailer after that. Yeah. This is the first one where I was watching the videos, like you said, and there's cars doing stupid shit. And they showed the motorbike. They showed Keanu Reeves talking about motorbikes, which I guess was a bit of PR. They showed the audio stuff. And graphically, that was a step above what I expected, what I was seeing in that game. To the point to where I was like, is this the game, or is this not a cutscene, but is this some perfect render moment? And then, he'd take the motorbike off and the beaten path. So I thought that looked, from what I can see, it looked pretty awesome. I liked all the car. There's not customizations, I guess. It's more like just a ton of cars from what I can tell. I could be wrong on that because somebody else told me. Okay. Which I'm going to be honest, I'm okay with. How many times do we get a game where there's just too much? And I know
agree.
people,
I don't think it's necessary.
Right. And I know people are like, we want this game to be everything, but it's like, listen, we're already talking about crunch factor for this company. So instead of having me figure out a car, and I don't know how much I'm going to be driving this car, just let me get the different types. That's good enough. And what they showed, dude, they didn't show a lot of combat, which I'm still hedgy on the combat, but graphically and just the way things were coming together, it definitely looks like it's the closest I've ever seen it as being towards finished. Like a good playable product, which I thought was awesome.
It's
a lot
so
of debris,
strange.
by the way. Sorry, I just have to add.
No, you're good.
Debris. Holy shit. In the roads, that was the thing I think that surprised me so much, is there's shit everywhere. Like he takes that car up and there's boxes. It looked tactile. Like I could feel this dirty place. I thought that was cool. Sorry, continue.
No, I was just gonna say it's kind of just crazy to think of how it's almost here, right? It feels like we've been talking about it for friggin' ever. And so I think that might be part of the reason why it looked better just in general. But what I've noticed is they've never really shown us true open world gameplay. Have you realized that? Right. They've never really they've always been on a mission. You're always going somewhere. We don't know a thing, not a thing, but I shouldn't be that extra, but we don't really know the length of the side activities, the side quests. I think we've seen clips of Japan gameplay where you see a little bit of that. It's just that's where I'm not concerned. I'm curious because there's still really so much we don't know. And I don't know if that's a testament to how big the game is or how much they are hiding. And I don't mean that if they're hiding, it's bad. It's just there's a lot we don't know still. A lot.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, man, where this actually felt different, and it just felt like that imperfect gameplay, like you said. Because the first Night City Wire had the wow factor of this looks insane, and then they were just like, yeah, that was all from the first couple hours. That was like the okay, crazy.
Right.
After that, though, it was just loaded up with just PR bullshit that I couldn't even tell you what the last two were about. This one, though, stuck out. It felt different. It felt nice. Especially, like I said, maybe it's because I've just never really seen it before, but watching them like go into the engine and put like one microphone on the left, one on the right, one close to it, some on the back tailpipe, some on the side of the car, to get like sound from all angles and replicate that in game. Like that's a lot of effort, right? For open world games, the vehicle is as good as point A, point B, done. That's it. You don't need to make these high effort racing level audio.
I know you weren't a fan, but the only other game I can say had amazing audio in the car in an open world game was, of all things, Mad Max. Dude,
yeah,
Mad
that would
Max's
make sense.
V8
That would make
were
sense.
just-
Yeah.
I mean, sitting there idling and hearing this big engine where its pistons can barely turn over because they're so huge, and it just sounds like power. And this sounded like future power, which is what I like. Like they even had the motorbike in this Night City where they were Keanu talking, and they were like, "Dude, this thing sounds like a futuristic, like wee." It's got that like weird mix of futuristic turbo sound. Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, that kind of. I don't think we're going to have to worry about the audio, of all things. I mean, it was cool that they sort of highlighted that too. It didn't feel as ignorable as we've seen other times.
For sure. Anything you guys want to add on to Cyberpunk, or shall we move into the Patreon questions?
Are we not talking about the PlayStation UI at all?
Oh my god.
We don't have to.
No,
quiet.
I feel like all right, let me add. This is impromptu, ladies and gentlemen. I'm adding it to my notes. PS5 UI. All right, welcome to the newest news bit of the Ham Radio Podcast.
Wow.
Dustin, would you like to lead us off?
Well, I was trying to see if someone asked a question about it, and then we could just tie it into Patreon, or not Patreon, Discord questions.
Did
But
someone?
no, I don't know. There's too many questions to see.
That's a good thing, I guess.
So yeah, PlayStation put out a video debut. It was like a 10-minute dive into the UI where they showed off their I can't remember what it's called. It's like a quick access menu or something. Whatever the menu is when you're in game and you hit the PlayStation button, you get this specialized menu where they're using a card system. So basically these cards allow you to do different things within the game's content. For example, if the developers build it in, that's the key part. You can hop into specific levels. They showed off Sackboy, how you could hop into specific levels directly from that card system. And they also showed off like the help system, which was kind of interesting. Just so if you didn't watch this video, to explain it briefly, is like you can get gameplay tips directly in the interface of your PlayStation if developers put it in, and if you have PlayStation Plus. So I thought this was a weird move, but also it kind of makes sense because they were probably like, listen, people are leaving their PlayStation to look at their phone, to bring up a guide or whatever, and maybe they're going to have a bad experience because they either can't find the right information, or maybe they're going to get spoiled because they're looking at they accidentally look at the wrong thing, something like that.
That's that second one. Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think of that.
So, and the thing is, I know that I've seen some comments where like, this is stupid. Why would you want that kind of help in a game? Why don't you just play the game? And it's like, this feature isn't for you. If you're the person saying that, this feature was not designed for you, and you don't have to use it, is my thought behind it. But
you really don't, though. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I just would hate if they give like a notification saying like, if you're in a part for like 10 minutes too long, like a notification for PSN will come up. Need help?
It's like, hey, you suck ass. Do you need help? Like, you're clearly terrible.
I would fucking
That's the
hate
feeling
that.
you always get when you get those.
Fortunately, at least the PS4 had notifications that you could like tweak.
Right.
So I'm really just hoping they do the same thing with the PS5. So if that is a thing, you can turn it off.
Yeah. And then they showed like the default menu, which is in 4K HDR, which I thought was kind of cool that the whole interface is in 4K and HDR. But it's really focused around the content, which I really like. Some people were concerned like, what about themes? Which, first of all, I'm trying to think of a situation where a console launched with custom themes. Usually they almost never launch with that ability. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that there's never going to be themes, but honestly, I like this approach better, where whatever you're highlighted, takes up the entire screen. The whole menu is designed around the content, which is a interesting approach, which I don't think we'll be able to really get a feel for until we're actually using it. The one last detail that I really liked, sorry, I don't want to talk forever, but
no, go for it, man.
The store is no longer its own app. It is integrated directly into the UI, which what I said on Sacred Symbols is currently the store is not a welcoming place. I mean, first of all, it's not very good. And second, it takes forever to do anything within that store. And it often just doesn't even work, which if this is the place that you're supposed to go and spend money and shop around, it's not a pleasant experience. So I'm sure that it was key as part of the design to be like, hey, we want going to the store not only to be easy, but an enjoyable experience. Therefore, people have a positive feeling. Therefore, hopefully, spending money. So we'll see. They didn't do like a deep dive into the store, but I don't know about you guys. I love whether it's Steam, pretty much every console, Steam, Xbox Game Pass, Switch, PlayStation. I'm always hopping into those stores just to see what's on sale, what's new, stuff like that.
Yeah, window shopping.
Dude, that Nintendo shop is not very good.
It's not, especially because I don't know about you. I got to sign in every time though. Put my password
really?
and everything. Yeah,
that doesn't happen to me.
Every
that
time. Maybe
sucks.
it might be because I don't go into it a lot. Like I go into a decent amount, but I haven't played my Switch much this year. But even before, when I was playing it a lot, every time I hop in there, it wants me to sign in. And maybe it's something in my system settings. I don't really knock it for it, but it's just like a deterrent. I'll be completely honest. At times I'm just like, I don't feel like fucking signing in.
That's awful, dude.
Yeah. Like
I'm
email,
honestly
password just.
It's a total side note, but I am amazed at how little Nintendo has updated the Switch's UI and its whole experience. In fact, they've basically done nothing since launch, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I'm a little mixed on the cards as far as the way they look and feel, at least from the video. I like the home menu though. I think the home menu is cool.
So are the cards like how about this? Are they connected to the game, or are they trophies that you could like click on and they'll bring you to that level? I think it's the first one.
I don't think they showed the level. I don't think they showed the level loading. I think he just said that for some games, if there is something custom, I don't remember them loading it.
They did click into one level on Sackboy where they were like, here is, it shows that we have 30% of this level done. Let's hop in directly from a card, and then whatever. The other thing that's a big concern, I kind of hinted at this earlier, but is that they made a point in the video to say that it would be up to the developers to implement these things. And just like, maybe this is a bad comparison, but like the touchpad on the DualShock was up for developers to implement its features, and almost none of them did. And so when you have something extensive, especially a help system built into your game, that's not just something that you spend a few days on and then move on. That's going to take extensive work. So I'm worried that this is going to be a thing that's exclusive to, Sony first and second party games, but who knows?
Yeah. I was about to say, I think you're going to sort of like with little uses of the touchpad, like in Ghost of Tsushima, it's a swipe up in the guiding wind blows through.
I actually liked it in Ghost.
Yeah, I did too. Like it felt like it was a subtle swipe where it was calm like the wind. I think you're going to see that just like we have with the last generation. I think you're going to see a lot of developers just use it for the exclusives. But outside of that, I don't think you're going to see it much because, for example, why would you, if you're a company working on, say, what is a third-party game, new Dragon Quest game, let's say that's Xbox, PS5, Switch, and they're just like, okay, so we're developing this game. Oh, but also for the PlayStation side, we've got to make this whole guide with steps with help and interactive levels of help and cards with challenges. Like, that is so much, right? I think that's something that's going to be great for the PlayStation ecosystem. Any first or second party exclusives, that is going to be awesome. And third party exclusives. But, like, that's going to be awesome. Outside of that, though, I don't see it getting much use. I'd be very surprised if you saw, like, your standard Call of Duty go to that length. If it becomes a part of the thing, though, like it is a feature most developers support, and it is there, and it is useful. You know, the cards are thoughtful. The help is good for people who maybe are stuck, sorry. I think that would be great. I really do. But I just don't foresee them, for one console that they're not exclusive to, going that extra effort. That's just my take, though.
My turn?
Yeah.
Your turn.
It looks a lot like the PS4 one, which I'm happy with. You know, it's got the line of stuff, and I think PS4's HUD is pretty good. Other than 5 different places, we counted 6 this morning, 6 different places where you can see what you're downloading, which is just fucking asinine. They showed Microsoft's this morning as well, their UI. Looks like a UI. They didn't change much. I would say with this, I think it's pretty cluttered. The one thing I wasn't happy with was everything took so many clicks. People were counting. It was 9 clicks to do something that on the current, like Xbox, it's 3. An Xbox store is already included in any game. So if you click on a game, you can see the store right there. So like that kind of stuff isn't really that shocking. I don't know about themes. I could give a shit about themes. Mine's blue, my PS4. Like, I don't even know what themes would do because mine is the basic. Like, there's nothing on my PS4 that is adjusted. So, yeah. I'm assuming I'm missing something cool. I just didn't.
Just hurts my eyes.
The blue. Yeah, you know, admittedly, that is pretty bright. But what I saw, I just don't care about that stuff. I don't play the UI. I play the game. And so to me,
right.
Consoles with locked off stuff like PS Plus has to be used for this, has to be used for that. When they start talking about that, I just nope out. And so I was just like, all right, whatever. You know, we've got some stuff. It launches a game. That's what matters to me. Mm-hmm. The cards, whoever programmed the cards, I will say this. Like, we had HTML/web developers in our Discord who were like, that is the worst design I have ever seen in my life. And one of the guys is a Sony pony. And he's like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And one of the reasons why is almost every card requires you to hesitate on the text for the text to scroll, which is just mind-blowing 0.00005 web development. Like, Squarespace wouldn't even do that. That is like MySpace AOL design. And it was crazy to see that. That, to me, was really cumbersome, especially with how many clicks that you had to go through to see some of the stuff. It was just click after click after click. So that would be it. But I don't care. I mean, the PS4, I tease it, you know, because of the multiple downloads, but I don't care. Like, that's fine. Xbox, I know people said for years it was slow. It was sluggish. And it was, but I didn't care because I was in the game. As long as you can take some pics, you know, and post them and do that kind of stuff, which admittedly there was a lot of button pressing, which was weird for the PS5 stuff. I'm assuming there's some shortcuts they didn't show because there was like 12 button presses to do some of the stuff. It would normally take like 1. It was a thing. Yeah, there was nothing bad about it. Like, to me, and that's good because I don't have an issue with the PS4 HUD or the PS4 UI. Mm-hmm. Like, so to me, it was just a continuation overall. I don't like the cards. But that's also because, like what you guys said, let's say 5% of companies use these other abilities. That still means you have to build it into the dashboard that it's there. It's a little bit like the Kinect. It's like, oh, the Kinect is being sold with every Xbox. Do we have to build something in? You know, that kind of stuff then sort of starts to segregate everything, make things feel a little, you know. I love the fact that they said you can do voice to text in your chats, and then I realized I have not once yet sent a text chat on a console.
Yeah.
So it's a cool idea. I was like, wow, because I love voice to text. Like, that's my shit. That's my jam. So I was like, dude, that's fucking awesome. And then I looked in my PS4 history, and I've never once sent a text to somebody. And I was like, oh, okay. It's cool, though. I actually think that shit's awesome because it's got the mic right there. So that kind of stuff is cool. Right. But, yeah, nothing bad. It was a UI overall.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, though, I will say they should never have showed that game loading. Bad move. The moment they showed the game loading and it took as long as it did, people were instantly like, it takes longer than the Xbox. And it's like, here we go. Yeah, now I got to deal with... And it did take a long time, especially for a very light game like that. Yeah. And I don't mean a long time in real life. You and I, on our PC, would be happy with that. But it's because Sony's made such a big deal out of it. And then they click go.
SSD.
Yeah, they click go, and I think people were seeing the quick resume, which is so fast. And quick resume is not the same, even though you've got 5 games loaded. And that's another thing I will say. I don't know what's going on if you guys... I don't care about quick resume.
Me neither.
I'll just be honest.
However,
I thought
it'd be pretty good. But
here's what somebody just said to me. They're like, dude, it can quick resume. Now they're saying it's more like 8 next gen, 12 past gen, and a mix, depending on how big the game is. Then technically, in a way, that's loading. And so now you're seeing the loading be faster than the PS5's loading, which admittedly it is. And so now I'm like, well, I mean, I don't like quick resume being a thing, if that makes sense. Like, I don't care about it. But then when somebody explained it to me like that, they were like, dude, did you see this? It's instant. It's one button. Even if this is fast loading, it's still 5 seconds. I was like, fuck. Because if there was quick resume on the PS5, you would have seen it in that video. It would have shown it. That, as in, they wouldn't even have said it. They would have just to make you think it was there. And they didn't. And so that made me go like, I don't know. So, and it sounds like Maddie likes it. I personally thought quick resume, I was like, why are they pushing it? But now that if it's 5 or 6 games, it takes a lot for me to play more than 5 or 6 games on my console. Right. So maybe the quick resume matters more than I thought. I can be wrong, and I think I might be wrong on quick resume just because of what it's called.
I get that, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Dustin, thank you for including this news today. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
with that,
we would have skipped right by that.
We would have. With that.
New battery in the PS5 controller, though. That's all.
Yeah, please.
200 mAh more, Maddie.
You guys did last week's show. Now, who was the last question?
We didn't do questions.
Oh, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Wow. Okay. Man, I step out for one episode. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. All right. Well, the last time I opened this was October 8th. So what I suggest we do is, because as I scroll, I see a lot. Yep. Here's Karak saying, everyone, you sexy freaks. It has Justin and me today. So get the questions in. Karak, you asked them and then you didn't.
I did. I completely.
Unbelievable.
We got talking about some random shit too. It was fun.
No, it's fine.
We just shit just sort of went downhill.
That solidifies it. Rapid fire.
Okay.
My fat cock is our first one. Okay.
I'm trying to find where this is even at.
October
it's up a ways.
8th.
Wow, Maddie, do you want me to keep you to this rapid fire? Because I don't trust you when you say that.
Please do. You are the figurative gun to my head.
Though
I need to get good at this.
Very good though. The one time we did hardcore rapid fire.
Yeah,
he had the timer set.
No, right. I did do the timer one time.
Yeah.
That's because I know it has nothing to do with you fuckers. I'm the one who will go for 5 minutes. So it's like, unless it's like a
No,
Bethesda game.
our episode of Sacred Symbols Plus really highlighted I can just fucking drag it out,
Talk.
man. I just talk, and I'm just like, okay, I need to cut myself off. So this is a good test for me. After being very self-aware in that episode,
No one
Let's try
complained though. No, the
No one
comments were
complained.
very good, very nice on that
which was
show,
good to
so-
see, yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt like over time, right? It's good once, but over time might be a little bit of a shut the fuck up itis I'm going to be catching. All right, my fat cock writes in and says, say you're now in charge of PlayStation's marketing and developing. What is your next move to catch up with the momentum that Microsoft seems to have right now? Perhaps an expansion on PS Now? I would say I will either jack your answer of PS Now, because I think they're behind there, because they need some form of backwards compatibility, or really just double down on those exclusives and show those off, man. Show what's coming.
That's what I was going to say. That's the key that Sony currently has that Microsoft doesn't, is actual exclusive games around the launch of the console.
Yep.
So
You got 3 of them. Well, you're muted. You're muted.
we lost.
Am I muted?
You're good now.
You said there's only 3 exclusives for PS5?
I was
Day
thinking
and
3
date.
major ones. I was thinking,
Oh, because there's
Ratchet.
like 11 for the Xbox, but they're not all major. There's like
Yeah.
Falconeer and a bunch of others.
I was just
Okay.
thinking Ratchet and Clank, Demon Souls, and Spider-Man, which really isn't like PS5. Sorry.
No, that's right. That's right. Spider-Man's going to be, well, I hope it's going to be good.
Let's hope.
Excited.
What would you do, Karak?
If I wanted to what?
If you wanted to catch up to the momentum Microsoft has sustained? It's going to be a great answer. I can feel it.
I think that they got exclusives, but I think other than these 3, I think Sony's in terrible shape for exclusives because of their current release schedule. They just released. Like, a lot of those companies just released titles, so it means, they don't have something. So I would get away from exclusives and say, like you said, PSN would be a big thing, and then they need to have a service of some kind. They need to offer something that you never question the cost. Right now, Microsoft has something really weird. I don't question Game Pass's cost, which is almost... No, it's never happened. I question Netflix. I question Prime. I do not question Game Pass, and I would love for Sony to have something to answer that. That would be
Way
very
of putting it. Kirk Solaris Chad Norakami asks, I'm curious to know what your guys... Yeah, that's a hell of a name, right?
I love it.
It's like a slash between each one, too. So he's Kirk, he is Solaris, and then he's Chad Norakami. I'm curious to know what your guys' favorite game of each year since 2010 is.
What the fuck?
Don't need an explanation, as I know this would take forever to answer.
I'm rejecting this question. This is something you don't do off the cuff. This takes
Yeah,
preparation.
dude, I don't even feel comfortable. 2020 is hard enough.
Way to go, Kirk Solaris, Chad Norakami. You've done it here. I'm sure we'll have another question from him.
Let's do 2020.
Do
Some of the
2020?
best games. Doesn't have to be one, yeah.
Dustin and I are about to sound like a broken record, I think.
5 roll.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Okay,
Interesting, really.
Persona 5 Royal.
I mean, 'cause
Hades.
that's just a repeat of Persona.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Neo 2?
Neo 2. Half-Life Alyx. One of the best games this
There
year.
we go. Yeah.
For sure.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Animal Crossing. One of my
That's funny.
favorite games this year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm done with it now, but the time I spent was very
Dropped
good.
that game in like 20 hours. Just not
You know
built for
what?
Animal Crossing.
Fuck it. We're giving Game of the Year to Persona 4 Golden on PC.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going with for Kirk. That's the answer.
Hey, his name is Chad Narakami, so there you go.
Oh,
Works
right.
for him.
Okay. From 2010 to 2020, the best game of the year, Persona 4 Golden.
That works. And Karak is forced into
That's
that.
what you get for
Perfect.
asking a question like that.
Nah, Half-Life Alyx was awesome, and then that fucking Crusader Kings 3 is really high on my list. Like really high. So it's going to be a fun year. because I think some titles that people just don't expect could be on some of these lists. Ghost of Tsushima was February. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that game was this year. And there's a lot of premiere titles.
I got an email, not to extend this, I got an email about Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and they put a reminder at the end that the game did indeed come out this year. Like, they
saw that.
Explicitly mentioned, like, by the way, it came out this year.
If you're doing Game of the Year announcements or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, holy fuck, I've never seen that before. Crazy. Ivory State writes in, what do you think of the rumors of a multiplayer Metro game in the works and the rumor that Metro Exodus was a flop? So is the reason for them going in that direction. 4A Games was also recently acquired by the Embracer Group, formerly known as THQ Nordic AB. Multiplayer Metro, I'm good, but I'm not surprised. I'm also up for them to take a new direction because I was not in love with Exodus. And I know I'm alone on that big mountain. That's my rapid fire answer.
Yeah, Metro Exodus sold really well, so I don't know what he means by it. I think that's just a rumor people like to push because it was Epic exclusive. Those numbers are already out. I would say Metro multiplayer I would not want.
Yeah, I don't think...
Yeah, I should specify I don't want multiplayer. I don't want multiplayer.
I want that feeling of being by myself and that danger. I don't want Joe Bob jumping up and down next to me when a demon's attacking. It ruins the atmosphere.
Yeah,
Maybe
there's
co-op.
like a demon attacking, and the guy's like, "Hey, can you get my back?" Like the crappy audio, like
right. What's that audio when it's when wherever he is where it comes from? You know, that channeled audio, and it's your friend eating Cheetos. You're like, dude, seriously, man.
Yeah.
Maybe co-op though. Would you guys be open to co-op?
I can't stand a mic muncher. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Someone
like
who's
that.
like taking a bite of a pretzel right in your ear. I won't stand for it.
I get that. Grimblade writes in, do you ever listen to or watch media at increased speeds? I find that I often speed up live streams if I fall behind. Sometimes when I'm really busy and need to, quote, get shit done, end quote, I'll listen to music at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. What the fuck?
That is
What
weird.
in the fuck is he talking about?
I've actually never fucking heard of that.
I've never.
Is it like he's
ever.
got to listen to something matching the speed he thinks he's at? Like he's at 1.5 speed when he's got to... I'm telling you, brother, if you're rushing at 1.5 speed instead of double your speed when you got to get something done...
Can you imagine an
are you actually
Eminem
rushing?
song at fucking 1.5? Like,
Yeah.
at that point, what is that? That's verbal spaghetti. Yeah, no, I don't do
That's
that.
a great...
I've never even
I
heard
feel
of
like you just took a line from an Eminem song right there. Verbal
What?
spaghetti is a great... That's just a great way of putting it. I could hear that.
I don't- just rank. The idea of it's crazy. I've never done that. Never. I will skip ahead. Or not skip ahead, sorry. I will hit the live button, on YouTube so that you pop back live to wherever they
Yeah,
are.
I'll just auto catch up.
Yeah. Man, that's...
Fascinating. Natural Calamity writes in with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 questions.
Banned. We got to ban Natural Calamity.
Well,
This is
it's just
getting out of hand.
What
Or
amazes
discipline. Something.
What amazes me is their paragraphs. They're big
I like
reads.
question 3.
No, we should just answer all. Oh wait, no, this is a Mafia one. Let's see here. Okay, we'll do. Yeah, we'll do question. What is question 3?
I mean, we can do whatever you want, man.
We can
This
do
is your
them all.
show.
We wrote them all. Just do rapid fire.
All right.
True rapid fire.
For Mafia 4, what do you think they go with? Maybe a sort of mule story. I feel like he asked this before. Sort of storyline, seeing how the cartel is connected to the mafia and how drugs are smuggled into America back then. Besides that, I can't really think what time they could go to and what they could do. Maybe Shanghai in the West Coast area. What are your ideas? You're thinking of Sleeping Dogs in some way, shape, or form, and I'm okay with Sleeping Dogs. So if that's what they go with for Mafia 4, yes, indeed.
Same.
Dustin, are you just going to bandwagon that?
I'll bandwagon that because I
All
just
right.
don't even have any thoughts about it.
Question 2. As someone who didn't get my hands on a pre-order for PS5 or Series X, I see people say they have multiple consoles, which seems like with limited supply, that should be kept from happening. But I wanted to know, what do you think of that? I can't comment on this because Dustin's extra consoles helped me out twice in the last month. I really can't say anything.
Listen, that's what I did. When the Series X, I pre-ordered one for myself And I pre-ordered a second one because I knew somebody wouldn't be able to get one that I know. And so one of those is going to my friend Phil. And I decided I didn't want to keep my Series X pre-order, and that one's going to Maddie.
Oh, I didn't know. Are you sure?
I am positive. Not that I have any problem with the Series X. There's just no point when I just spent $700 on a 3080.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
my PC's not updated, so that's
Maybe next year.
later.
I've bought too many nice toys this year. I need to cool it as
I
far
get
as
that.
being responsible.
I get that.
Let's see. What do you think of that, though? I mean, they can't stop people from pre-ordering from multiple retailers. So
Yeah,
there's
it's just going to happen.
really nothing that can be done.
Question number 3. How do you 3 woo the ladies? I'm going to take it, man, so... Your significant other... Okay, here we go. Your significant other wants a date, a nice romantic date. There's no commas here. He wrote literally, I'm going to read it like how it comes out. Your significant other wants a date, a nice romantic date. What do you do with her to make her feel at ease? ... Like go on a romantic date? ? What? Get her flowers. Woo that girl with words. Give me some advice. What do you Casanovas do?
No.
So he asked us, your significant other wants a romantic date. What do you do to make her feel at ease? Like go on a romantic date. What the fuck is
Natural
that?
calamity. You write 5 questions and the quality is slipping.
Yes, this is what happens. I want 2 high quality questions, not 5. This is what I'm talking. Delay your questions. Delay your questions like a game. I took my girlfriend on our first date mini golfing. Have a
Hell
fun
yeah.
first date. Have a fun first date.
Yes.
Give yourselves something to do, right? If you are left to your own devices and you're not good at conversation, you are fucked. It will be awkward.
But don't go to a movie on a first date either.
Yes, that's
Because
what I was
that's
getting
just-
at, yeah.
Honestly, I think that the movie date should be later on in a relationship because you're not going to learn anything about each other unless you go for like drinks or something after the movie. But
Even then, it's just you can't have a comfortable silence that early on, I feel. You could,
Right.
but like it just wouldn't be as natural. There would be too many question marks. Karak, you're going on a date. How
ladies love Karak. I have this feeling. I know it.
It's because I do nothing.
It's the beard.
do you... It is the beard.
And I've gone on first dates that were movies because they liked movies and I liked movies and we just wanted to go, you talk prior to the movie and then you watch it because you're excited. But that kind of stuff, nah, man. I don't really plan anything. It's like if they want to go do something, I would go do something. But I also put my foot down on stupid shit. Like if somebody was like, I want to go to a fucking, what's that food I hate most all foods, Thai or something like that. I'm not a Thai fan, right?
Wow.
I'm also not a fan of any food with ginger in it because ginger bothers me just as
I get that,
as
yeah.
taste. I'm not a huge fan. So I'm just a firm believer in not really giving in right away. Like, don't falsify shit. So like if I don't like ginger, I'll just be like, no, I don't really want to go do that.
You're a
Can we do
real
something
one.
else?
You're direct.
Yeah, I don't really, and I've always knocked way above my weight, but that's because I have a sense of humor. Like I know, chicks date me because I'm funny, not because I'm fucking awesome looking. Like
I
you
would
gotta,
disagree.
I think that's, well, you can lie all you want. You're a
I'm not
liar now.
lying.
Just chalk
I
that
would-
up now as a stat. Liar. That's your stat. Plus 18.
I think we are a podcast of 3 handsome men.
Well, we are if only 3 of us are in the room and it's just us 3.
Oh my god.
No, I'm just joking. But no, man. Why? Like, and I'm just not really into that kind of stuff. I think whatever they want to do and whatever you want to do, come to a good group. I think the movie things, I think that was used to be done because it would lube somebody up socially. Laughter, like you go to a comedy and then you get done and you're both in a good mood. But what if
You're
you go
lubed up
see
before
like,
you lube up.
yeah, I love to use that word. And delicious and lube, if you can inject those into discussions they shouldn't be in, watch everybody try to figure out what you're talking about. But don't you guys also, like, dates aren't really a thing anymore, also. It's more like, let's go hang out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think I dated in high school, and then after that it was mostly, you already sort of knew you liked each other, and it was like, let's go. Like you would talk prior, and they'd be like, "Oh, I like this. Oh, I also like this. Let's go do that." So it wasn't a date. It was like we're both doing an activity we like, whether that be fucking or watching a drag car race.
Oh my god.
Or both.
or both at the same time.
At the
in
same
the sand.
time, dude. Yeah.
In the sand. Hey, swipe right, baby. I have no clue. But
my god.
I have one other
Good
comment
question.
on this. Sorry, here's the thing: you got to be yourself, and with your lady as well. For example, I just had my 6th wedding anniversary last week, and we went to this burger place that is excellent called Burgatory here in Western Pennsylvania.
I'm
Got-
so hungry. That sounds so
We got
fucking good.
burgers, we got milkshakes. I got a hard milkshake that had bourbon in it, and it was perfectly romantic for our, what we want in life. I don't want to go to a cushy dinner where a man in a suit serves me. That doesn't sound appealing. So
Mm-hmm.
go
Even
with the
though
flow.
it might be to somebody else.
Having a man in a suit serve you.
Dude, well, Japan likes everything. It's a Pornhub category. But
Or a maid, right.
Or a maid. I think also, like, I know I've dated some girls that are really posh like that. Like, that's what they wanted to do. And, they did want to go to those nice places. But you're absolutely right. 6 years, you guys been married. Sometimes somebody will be into that. Sometimes they're like, let's just stay in and not look at our phones. Which I know that sounds so bad because I've heard people be like, you should already, what the fuck ever. We should all be doing a ton of good shit. We don't. We're people, right? You should be washing your genitalia. I know a lot of people don't shower every day. Fuck off. Like, people don't do that. So when you have your 6 months, if somebody says, let's hang out and not watch TV, not get on our phones, that I think is, that can be it too. It could definitely be it. Flowers are not a thing I do very often. My wife likes them, but they die.
I've done them a couple of times. Yeah.
I've done them a couple times. I'm not great on flowers. They're not. You can't use them for something. I don't know why, but they just sit there and then they die.
The best
and you're
gifts
like,
are the ones that you can use.
Yeah, right. Even if it's lube. Put it in
Great
every.
gift.
I'm telling you, delicious lube.
Okay. All right. We failed at rapid fire there.
Hashtag.
That was
delicious
the good question, though, so I don't feel
Yeah, right.
bad about
All
that.
right. Question 4. After seeing the perception of Star Wars Squadrons, do you think this will push EA away from single-player games yet again? No, I think it will encourage them to chase more
I see.
unique little ideas.
Let's go with that.
Nice.
I agree.
Question 5. Seeing games get delayed over and over, it really made me think about Star Citizen, a donation-run game that has made millions of dollars but has very little. So my question is, where does the line end? When does the game go to being fraudulent? And should there be laws against this? I haven't paid attention to Star Citizen because that is a game we've actually talked about for a long time.
Well,
I don't
same
think
amount of time as Cyberpunk. So people should probably start to really. A lot of people like to diss on Star Citizen. Fact is, there's been other games. Last Guardian took an entire generation to actually get out onto the console. So I know a lot of people like to diss on Star Citizen, but it's like,
I don't want to diss
by
on
the way,
it.
there
I'll care
are
about it when
laws
it's out.
already. Yeah, there are already laws. in the
Yeah.
United States for
It's not
fraudulence.
vaporware because there's portions of the game you can play. They're clearly working on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And by the way, Dustin, your 3080 baby, you should try it because there is some sweet shit in that. I bought the
I've
cheapest
never thought about
version.
okay.
The $50 one ship, and I'm telling you, I've got way more than $50 out of the fun. Dude, there's a mission where
Interesting.
you can fly, do your mission in your spaceship, land against somebody else's, get out, and do a fucking first-person fight in their ship.
Dude, that sounds
Like,
awesome.
It's
Interesting.
there. You know, it's like it's where
Yeah.
you can see
I'll have
that
to look it
magic a
up.
little bit, and you're like, oh, I sort of get what they're.
I don't
hitting
know
at.
anything about it, so I got to look that up.
Massive space game that started out as like a, you know, like sort of contained, and then it went off.
Wow.
Real quick-
Folkrat writes. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say we covered this question or this topic last week. But
Yes, actually, you know what?
We could get your input if we want, or we could just
Yeah.
move on.
I have a whole video I'm working on for Avengers already, so
Okay.
we'll just leave it as be. MrMD, hi guys. Really been enjoying the content. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Hi.
My question is, what is the worst possible idea for next gen that Sony, Microsoft, or both is absolutely going to do? Well, we now live in a world where I think like PlayStation, I don't want to say they're actually recording your party chat, right? It is that if you have recording on, let's say someone is like has the recording option, you know how you can like choose to capture party audio when you hit the PSN like capture button. I think the idea is that PlayStation can now use that.
They just, while we were recording, put out an article explaining about this whole drama about the voice chat recording.
I believe that originally also, if you read the original announcement from PS5, they simply said, be aware someone can record your voice. As in someone else, a person, other players, because they even state other players can report you. So who knows? Maybe they're doing like, you know how on the Xbox right now, when you're playing a game, it's saving the last 4 minutes, I think, of gameplay, regardless. It's always saving it. And maybe it's something like that where they're like, okay, from now on, like you said, Maddie, maybe if that button's highlighted, they're saving it. To me, I mean, that's not the worst. No, there's far worse, because I can actively ignore that and do Discord or something. That's not the worst. I'm sure we're going to come up with something worse than that.
Right.
I mean, there's some stupid ass ideas out there. Digital only. I think digital only, the more I see about digital only systems and the more they'll control your purchase price from now on, if you buy a digital only system of either one of them, I find that to be the worst. They should have had those prices of both consoles not be digital only and still been the same price. Whatever the low. So Sony should have been $100 cheaper, Microsoft $50, I think. They should have disk drives in them.
I agree.
I don't like them controlling the price of my games 100%. Like, there's just no chance of getting it cheaper.
Okay. Let's keep going. Panicking Duck. Hey guys, I'm a video game nerd, but I'm also a car nerd as well. I know Maddie isn't into car racing games, but I was wondering if either Karak or Dustin were. And I was also curious on what your thoughts are for Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
This is all you, Karak, because I do not play any kind of car games other than Mario Kart. So,
very quick, love car games. Absolutely interested in it. I think the Need for Speed games have been universally trash for the last 5 to 7 years. So it'll be interesting to see if this one's good. That's it. The last one, by the way, that I played was so fucking bad, Maddie. I don't know if you remember. This might have been prior to even me and you talking. That's the one where if you're driving, the sun sets instantly. You can stop the car and back up, and the sun is literally controlled by that fucking the road, and you can back up and go forward and watch the sun set and fucking and go up and set.
Yeah.
Horrible game.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that shit. Yeah. Wasn't that was like 2015 or 14 that came out, right?
I think it was before you and I ever even talked. Yeah, it was like 20, and it was where the old guy, some old racer, is supposed to be the bad guy. It would be like your grandpa showing up and suddenly be Magneto. Like it just fucking didn't matter. It's terrible.
Paco Luigi writes in, how would you rate some of the PC launchers, and how does this extend to those confined to one ecosystem versus those who use multiple launchers/services? Hope everyone's doing well on this fine Friday.
I don't really care about what launcher a game is on unless it's horribly offensive. And at this point, I think most of them are fine. I don't know. Obviously, Steam has more features, but it just doesn't. It's a big point of contention for a lot of people, and it just does not bother me.
Epic should have had their, cart day and date. I mean,
yeah,
Squarespace.
I think that they launched a little early for sure.
Yeah, they launched a little early. So that would be my main one. I agree. It's a launcher. I don't give a fuck at all.
Right.
Yeah. Only time I really did care was when it came to the original introduction of Epic. I think maybe now we've just gotten used to it. But yeah, before that, and especially now, I've kind of returned to just like, okay, is the game here? Is the game there? Whatever. Like, I'm a software guy. I always have been. So for me, it's like, where can I get the game? I don't care if I'm on Steam.
I think we can all agree on one bad one, though. When the software is separate and there's a launcher like Red Dead 2. So Red Dead 2, that was all over Reddit. People couldn't even launch it because the launcher was broken.
Oh.
So it had nothing to do with like Epic. So I don't know if he's saying that. But that was where Red Dead should have piggybacked on top of somebody. Instead of doing their own shit. Which they did, and every consumer who was hit by it had no recourse. They had to wait for Rockstar. That was very poor.
Yeah, I get that. Horse of Fire 1 writes in, I'm going to repost my same question from before. Sorry for double dipping. That's no problem. We may have missed it or something like that. Just finished hearing this the podcast. Excellent solo one. Thank you very much, Maddie. You're welcome. But I want to make a point to Hero Kraken. That's a great way to write Karak's name. Now I realize it.
Well, I've got a picture of one.
Kraken and Dustin. touched on a few podcasts ago. You yourself did it in answering my question, even though due to my fault as well. I was asking about fishing in Phoenix Rising, if it was possible. What I should have asked is if it was possible to fish in Gods and Monsters, a.k.a. Immortals Phoenix Rising. Okay, now I see it, because he spelled it Phoenix like P-H-O. I didn't know what he was talking about. Now I know. A.k.a. what I tried to type, LL. So see to my point / question, they changed the name so much, and without a lot of PR, it threw me off as an active gamer. You and others, it will do the same too as well. For what it looks like could be a good game, which could lead to it not selling a lot of copies, etc., etc. So what I'm asking is, can you fish, ultimately, in this game? I played it. I can confirm you cannot fish. There's your answer.
Final word from Matty.
Unless they add it in at some point. Right now, as it stands, there is no fishing. It would be a good game for fishing, though. But right now, I know for sure there is not fishing. Tropical Ice Cow writes in, thoughts on 76 having double the player count on Steam than Avengers. Oh! No, I don't know. I don't hate 76 as
Say that again?
76 has double the player count on Steam than Avengers.
So it's like 4 versus 2?
I think 76 might have a bigger player base than people give it credit for, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think, I at least I'm in the community, so I hear about it a lot more than other people. So there is that worth considering. I told you guys we'd get back to Kirk. Have you guys heard of Grabbed by the Ghoulies? It's an original old Xbox game by Rare. I absolutely loved it, even though it had a bad reception and sold horribly. Though I feel like I'm the only one that's ever heard of it. Just curious if you guys knew it. Karak, you fist pumped. I have not played it. Dustin, I don't know if you've played it, but...
Heard of it, not played.
Heard of
Grabbed
it,
by
not
the
played
Ghoulies
as well.
is Bungie, my friend.
It's Bungie.
Yeah, Grabbed by the Ghoulies was one of Bungie's side ones. Remember the pirate one they also did? Bungie did a little pirate one. It's like a 2D. You guys even remember that? They've had these little side ones at times. But anyway, Grabbed by the Ghoulies was a zombie game. And yeah, it was done way back. Xbox original, I think. Very, very enjoyable game. And
I'm not seeing Bungie on this Wikipedia at all. Are you thinking of Stubbs, the zombie?
That's Stubbs. I apologize.
Okay,
yeah, but the game I'm actually talking about is Grabbed by the Ghoulies. And very positive game, but I just think that for whatever reason at that time, man, I just think gamers were in their bro mentality too much. A lot of these games that had like even a slight, unless it was like, a Final Fantasy, it was back in the day when like it just feels like everything was bro and it wasn't cool enough. It wasn't cool to like those things. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed it. Yeah, Stubbs was the other one. That was Bungie. Also good though.
Funk Rat writes in, forget TV adaptations. Which game would make a good book adaptation? I don't like this question.
Why?
Why would you take a game and turn it into a book?
Dude, because Halo books are good. Sorry.
But are they the actual... Okay, maybe I'm wrong then. Do they take the game itself and then turn it into a book, or is it an offshoot from the game?
It is the game and the levels and the experiences with the book added to add flavor to that experience. The first 3. Then later they go off the shit. Like later they're just smoking straight dope and meth. But those first 3.
Okay. I don't know. I couldn't even think of anything. I just, because I'm very much a strong believer that I think games are told best, or stories are told best through games, because they're interactive and you can see it and then you can mess with things, and there's a connection that's built there. That I like books, by the way. I read a decent amount, but I've never developed that connection, or like, this would be better as a book.
Right. I would read a Bloodborne book.
You know what? Fuck you. That's a good answer. Shit.
Get some of that. I mean, the lore is there, obviously, with Bloodborne, but you really got to work for it. So maybe like a more straightforward book. That might be fun. I don't know.
That's a good fucking answer, yeah.
There's a comic book series I've never read. But
of Bloodborne there is?
Yeah.
What about, do you guys know if there's a comic book series? So, by the way, usually I find on Amazon all of these have books, and I just wasn't aware. So you might want to check. We might be wrong. They might already have them. But has there been a Dark Souls book?
There's been a Dark Souls comic for sure.
From the place of the protagonist, because that'd be pretty boring, right? Just him like moaning.
It's got to be like building the world more, right? Like that's
maybe the mythology of it all. Maybe
I'd be surprised if Dark Souls didn't have a book.
Yeah, so would I.
Dark Souls Beyond the Grave, Volume 1. Okay, this is like a encyclopedia where it talks about like places and characters, like a lore book. But I don't know if it's official.
I got it.
Anyway.
Florida Man writes in. Maddie, Karak, and Dustin, seriously, thank you for being grounded with your content. I've been subscribed to ACG and your channel for like 5 years now, and just never took the plunge to be more active with your channels. I'm tired of some of the other gaming channels that attempt to put on a song and dance show in a, quote, attempt, end quote, to be funny and bring in views. You guys are just down to earth and naturally yourselves instead of acting like you're something you're not for views. I can't thank you enough. Well, that is very nice of you to say. Thank you, man.
Very nice to hear on a Friday.
Thank you.
We just try to, I think we all share the same mindset. We just kind of want to talk games, and I think because we're so grounded in that, it's just very easy for us to not lose ourselves and everything else. Here's my question: what in the fuckity fuck? His words, not mine. Is Ubisoft doing?
I already like this.
They are releasing Watch Dogs, AC Valhalla, and Immortals Phoenix Rising back to back to back over the next 3 months. That seems dumb as hell, as the marketing for all three has been practically non-existent. EA did this once with Battlefield 5 and Titanfall 2, and boy, that worked out swell, huh? What gives? Do they have some insane game announcements, do they have some insane upcoming unannounced games for next year planned, and that's why they are shoving this out the door ASAP? I'm lost on this and would love to hear your thoughts. My first thing is, I remember these games were supposed to come out way earlier.
Correct.
And they delayed all of them in a response to, I forgot directly what it was.
One was COVID internally, and then the other two, Watch Dogs was 1 full year of delay.
Yeah, they pushed these games back major. So I think what happened essentially is now they're like, it's time to get it out. We have spent either too much money or the most amount of money and time we can on these games. They've got to just get out. And maybe they would have been out a little sooner and more spread out if there wasn't COVID, where they could have, just kept working in the offices and maybe had one in the spring, one in the summer, one in the fall, but they're all here. I think Phoenix Rising is going to hurt the most. AC will be fine. I think Phoenix Rising will hurt as a new IP with little marketing, and it's coming after everything. And I think because Watch Dogs is just fucking buried, it's just not getting any attention. I think that one
Watch Dogs is selling with the 3080 though, which I talked to Dustin last week about this. I was like, do you think they're not so stressed about Watch Dogs because they sold so many 3080s? And there's obviously NVIDIA pays Ubisoft for that.
That's
so it's like, isn't that weird? Like, what if that's how they're getting away with it? But I would agree. Yeah, no one knew Cyberpunk was being delayed. Remember that. A lot of people would be like, they're releasing in the same... They're stupid. It's like, no, they're not. Some of these were delayed prior to Cyberpunk being delayed. It's just... That's life.
It's just how it falls, yeah.
Yeah.
It's my fat cock again. Lately...
Big old, juicy, my fat cock.
Really, man?
My fat, juicy cock. That's his middle name.
Yeah, right? You think.
My fat J cock.
My fat... What is your middle name?
Mine? Olsen. Mine's old.
Olsen. Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Lately, work and several other projects have eaten most of my time. I find about 30 minutes for gaming, traveling to and from. What's a solid game with a story that can be enjoyed in short bursts on the Switch? I'm tired of the arcade-style games and want more substance. Dustin, would you recommend Hades? I know that may be a little more arcade-style, but it just that immediately came to mind.
Sorry. The runs get really long.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a good... Like, I'm getting to the point where my runs are taking 20 to 25 minutes because I'm getting to the end. He said arcade, not arcade, which my gut reaction was Celeste. As far as good story, really fun gameplay, and you can play just a little bit at a time. You didn't play Celeste? Whoa.
I know, especially the mental health awareness. That's really
all right. Everybody, rip on Maddie for not playing a game in the comments.
I will,
like he did for me last week.
Open target. Hit me up. Yeah, I saw Coach Blue wrote in suggesting Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen for the Switch. That's one. I don't think that's got a good story, but that's one that you could take a gander at.
LA Noire is on the
Ooh.
Switch, and it depends on what you consider good gameplay, but that is easy. I don't think any of the missions take longer than 30 to 45 minutes, and I personally think that game is one of the more amazing story ones, which it sounded like he wanted a good story.
Dude, that's a great, I like that.
That would be very fun.
That's a good one. Let's rock with that. Coach Blue writes in, sup, you guys have just entered Luke's Jedi Academy. What lightsaber color do you choose? I'm choosing green.
Purple.
Purple. That's what I was going to say.
Wow, okay. 2 purple lightsabers. Paco Luigi. What single-player game should I play next? New or old is fine, but I'm a lean towards budget-friendly games when possible.
Dishonored 2.
Let's go on. Yeah, anything arcane. Anything arcane. It's usually really cheap. They're really good games. They are replayable.
And a lot of people haven't played them.
Yeah. Which
I don't
blows
even
my
understand that
mind.
question. Any game? Just any game?
Yeah, new or old. What should he play next? What single-player game should he play next?
Yeah, those are good. Yeah. Dishonored's a good answer.
Yeah, I'd say arcane or just trying to give you another option.
Prey.
So,
Prey's another one. Same company, but Prey's another one.
yeah, I'm just trying to think like a nice tight single player game. Nothing's coming to mind outside of that. I mean, there's like big games I could suggest, but anyway, let's move on. Natural Calamity with a load of questions again. He's actually going to be the one who wraps up our show here. So let's do this, gentlemen. Let's finish strong. Let's see if Natural Calamity has written these out properly this time. Maybe he was tired last week when he wrote his original set of questions. 1, we know you guys are gamers, but what other things do you like to do? Reading, flipping through comics, spend your time watching movies, teaching the young the power within. What do you gentlemen do in your spare time when you're not holding the controller? Being a nerd.
Karak, you do some AC cars and RC cars and planes, right?
Yeah, unless the plane blows up.
Right.
But,
Yeah, that was funny.
RC cars, and I teach martial arts. Those are probably the most enjoyable, like big side things. Miniature games, board games. I think all of us do nerdy shit on the side. I mean, martial arts is probably the least nerdy, but it's like nerddom encapsulates everything.
Indeed.
Right.
Like it's hard to think of games and board games as hugely different. I mean, they are, but you know what I mean. They're still nerdy. Do you guys do any welding slash what's that called? Like chiseling, like creating stuff, like chiseling, not chiseling. What's the term?
I used to.
Whittling, like wood whittling. Do you guys ever do
I
anything?
used to when I was a
creative,
Cub Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I used to love doing ceramics, like
Yeah, I would like
with
to put
clay
something
and
like
stuff, a long time ago. But for me, I'm gonna say, which I haven't done this the last few months, but I was getting really into model building. So specifically, I was building, like I had some Evangelion model kits and some Star Wars model kits.
Cool.
And yeah, it's a very fun. It's a nice hobby to just slow down. Everything we do so much is, so just to slow down and cut out these little pieces, listen to some music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very nice.
It's awesome.
That's good. I used to do martial arts. The only reason I don't now is because the school isn't open because of obvious reasons. So that was like one of my main hobbies. Collecting cards has become kind of what I fill my time with that I would normally spend there doing this now.
You run still though.
I've transferred over to bike riding. That's kind of just because running started to really hurt my knees. Yeah, so I switched over to bike riding, which was actually a good choice because there was a time I just recently gave away my my old car that I was using to a family that never had a vehicle. So I gave it to them, and I didn't have one for a couple of days, which was fine. But I ended up biking to my studio, the one I'm in right now, I biked here like a couple of days in a row, and it's like a good 20-minute ride, but it was actually really cool, like just going along the roads and like thinking to myself, hey, this isn't too bad. But it's because there's a lot of hills, and on the way back, when you're going up those hills after a long day, holy fuck, pretty torturous. Question 2, as game consoles go seemingly infinitely forward, that's bold praise there, do you see backwards compatibility continuing to go forward to the infinite future consoles, or will it stop along the way? Sorry, there's some typos here. Becoming more of a thing of the past. Now here, I got to expose natural calamity again. Will it stop along the and become more of thing in the past? This is just refresh, revise. We want 2 questions next week and 2 beautifully written questions.
That's right. I want it to be like poetry in my ears, these questions.
Natural, we're kidding, by the way, but we're not kidding that we want you to write a little more elegantly so I can just, out it comes. Anyway, are they going to continue on with backwards compatibility generation after generation? So will Series X games be compatible on Series Z games? Or Series Z system, right? Like that's kind of the idea he's going with here. I think if you're Xbox, yes. I think it depends on the hardware, right? Because I think like the reason this is a question is maybe the PS3 more so.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of left there.
I think that, yeah, because these consoles are now both built on similar architecture, x86 stuff they both run on AMD GPUs, both, I mean, not just Xbox and PlayStation, but PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. Mm-hmm. As long as they continue down that path, which I would assume that we would continue to see backwards compatibility just because it would be easier. PS3 is a different situation because of the cell processor and stuff like that. But
yeah.
Same.
Question 3. I've been closely following the Xbox Series X, and I'm amazed by the quick resume feature, the way you go between games simultaneously. But if Sony doesn't have anything of the sort on their console, do you think it will harm the reception of the console, or do you think that will not matter in the slightest?
Quick resume is a thing that's a part of a bulleted list of what makes a console great. It's not a system seller, in my opinion. So someone's not going to choose Xbox over PlayStation because of that feature. It's going to be all the other stuff, or maybe that in combination with a bunch of other stuff.
I would agree. I do think because of what we've talked about today and realizing the faking loading versus quick resume, so it looks like the games load really fast when there's 5. If you have 5 or 6 saved, that is sort of a big deal. Which I sort of now see. I did a video just called Quick Resume is like bullshit, and I was amazed that everybody disagreed. There was no one who agreed with me. And there was thousands of responses. They were like, dude, you're wrong. It's fucking awesome. So I don't know. Maybe it's something I'm not getting. Because I do know Android's got the thing. You guys both have iPhones or Android?
Yes, iPhone.
So and I'm sure this is a thing on iPhone, right? You don't close the app. The app is still in there, and then you have a quick access back to the app, right? Or is that just Android? Because Android does have a feature where you don't ever leave the app. You literally hit the back button. It looks like it's gone, but at any time, it's still loaded in memory, and it loads quicker if you slide up, and it's there again, and you can see all your apps. So maybe we're talking to a generation where that's a thing. Like that, the cell phone generation may think that's a thing, but I would agree. I don't think personally, I don't think it matters.
Question 4, our last question. This one's a doozy.
No. That's the answer. I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Karak and Dustin are waltzing down the street feeling like badasses, enjoying the sun, but the next thing they see, a kangaroo and a ginger walking the other way. Your rivals, you're creating this in your head, by the way, Lone and Noah. What will ensue? A thematic battle for Matty in true anime fashion. A rock, paper, scissors battle for the ages? Or will you buy both of them a beer for it to only be a ruse and then throw sand in their eyes and curb stomped him. What the fuck is this? What am I reading, bro? Or will Karak get his many karate minions to attack them while Dustin comes from the back with a crowbar and hate in his heart? What will you choose?
What the fuck? Who wrote this?
Natural Calamity. He's on one this week, man.
Have you guys ever wondered? I'm not even going to answer it because I have no clue what he's talking about. But have you guys ever wondered sometime if people hope that there's issues?
Yes.
You mean between people?
Yeah. Because I know it's a joke, but it's still written. It still means he thought it. It's almost like the presidential thing. You can't ask a president if they've thought of something, because the moment they've thought of it. So if they say no, they have actually thought about it. And it's considered like the worrisome thing in politics. You don't want to let a question come up where to answer it means like you have now discussed it, right? It just seems so weird to me, because this happens on my channel. We had somebody who left my channel, GB. No hard feelings. He just was like, this isn't working out. He does a small change. And it doesn't matter. Somebody has still thought about it, even if they joke. And I'm just like, maybe that's a thing I don't get. But it's like, why wouldn't we just all do a giant podcast? If I met them on the street, why would we just not all say, hey, man, you guys are here. I'm here. Let's all do it. Let's just all record a big video game podcast. But instead, it's like, let's have a battle. I don't know. It's just fucking weird to me. It's the negativity of all this shit is really starting to get on me. Like, and by the way, he's not being negative. I'm saying I'm just noticing it as a whole with channels and stuff. Even on Twitter, it's been a big deal lately. I've been watching, like, there were 2 channels. Joe was going after somebody. Angry Joe was going after somebody.
Oh, yeah. I forgot who it was, but yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and I was just reading it going, seriously? Really? Like, there's nothing even tangible about it.
That's
By the way,
weird.
Natural, I haven't answered your question because I have no clue what the question was. But
I don't know. It was a really... Natural, we're going to start vetting your questions. That's what we're literally going to have to do that, because that was a weird question. And then some of your other questions just clearly were not proofread. You're firing away here without checking if there's any bullets in the clip.
Matty, can you see what time he posted it? Was he like drunk?
Drunk.
The reason why I asked is
It's 3:34 p.m.
Oh my god, dude! And it's Eastern time, so it's actually, or no, it's my time, so it's like fucking 1 o'clock or something in the afternoon. He's already on the day. Yeah, no, it's so like we have one drunk poster. I love him, but he gets in voice chat. It's a disaster, man.
Yeah,
it falls apart. Like, you'd be talking, and suddenly he's like, yeah, it's like Bruce Lee when he fucking blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, what in the... I don't deal well with drunk people, to be brutal.
I don't either.
I'm not a huge fan.
I don't either. I get annoyed. I'm just like, why can't you fucking understand me? Like,
yeah, right? Or why don't you talk on the same subject world?
Exactly, dude. I fucking hate
Let me
it.
ask a question in lieu of his questions. Have you guys, what are you using for your video recording currently? What I mean is, what hardware? Are you using a webcam, a DLSR? What are you using currently for you guys' web streams that I'm seeing you on?
Webcam is a Logitech C930, I think it is.
930. What are you using, Dustin?
Mine is a sort of like DSLR / camcorder hybrid that Sony put out called the VG20 that's hooked up into my Elgato. Yeah. So it's more of a...
I'm using pretty
Pro
much the same thing you are. I'm using the camcorder DSLR 4K. It's like the AX33. It's from a couple years ago. Yeah, I'm really happy. The reason why I was asking is because a couple days ago, I decided, should I up my camera game? I found out no. But at the time, I was like, and I went online and I started seeing all these people pimping cameras, like YouTubers. Like, I'll show you the top 3 cameras for web, for a fucking, like us, for a podcaster. And, I was surprised what somebody else's idea of cheap was.
Oh, yeah, you see that a lot. Especially when I was looking for laptops and I was looking for monitors. It was like, it'd be like $600. They're like, this is cheap. I'm like,
right.
I wish.
Right. And to see... Oh, go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to just say I guess if it's coming from a YouTuber perspective, that's a little different. Because I'm thinking of like the pro camera world. where I was talking to somebody recently about this Canon C100, and it was an expensive camera for me at like $3,000.
Right.
And the guy I was talking to, he does work for like a really, really big YouTube channel. And he was like, oh yeah, you can just get a couple C100s. Those things are cheap. And I'm like, well, in his mind, he's thinking about Red Epics as the standard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah,
I mean,
$2,000 or whatever for a C100
Reds are the Maserati of
yeah.
Cameras. I remember when I first heard how much a Red was, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Whose house? I mean,
that's what they film
yourself with?
Movies, like actual movies with.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I was just surprised. It was pretty eye opening to see, and they were like, hey, if you're on a budget, this $560 Sony fucking MS ESO is probably up your alley. And I'm just like, if you're on a budget, whose budget does that even speak to? Because it doesn't speak, I think, to a normal person watching. That just seems like Maddie's with some lighting or a ring light. Maddie's would look fine, $920. So that thing, what is that? It's less than $100.
Yeah.
And then
I'm changing the whole lighting in here though. Like,
really good.
It's the lighting is so bright in here, and like this camera is really harsh anyway, so like it doesn't help. But like, what I was gonna do is install like some kind of yellow lighting, kind of like to kind of replicate what you two sort of have, more so Karak. And then just put some kind of dust and level lights behind me and create a little more of a mood.
I set mine up for Halloween.
Booth. I love it,
dude. I changed it to orange.
I know.
Festive.
I just love it. Looks so good. It just your lighting. I actually.
Thank you.
When I said it looked like a Ubisoft booth, that's because Ubisoft booth looked the best of all booths to me.
Oh.
Every time I go into a Ubisoft booth, they got the soft lighting, and it's like it's plush. French ladies are talking to you with accents, and I was like, "Ooh, oh, dude, it was awesome. It was awesome." And it just that's the way your place reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because light has to come from in front for a good camera, and your monitor is in front. So it's just like, well, that's not going to work because the fucking light's in front of the monitor. And then you do highlight and you look old. You do underlight and you look like a cadaver. So it's hard to get the light. I've seen some YouTubers do really good, but they're usually not streaming. Usually streamers and stuff, are on the side now. That's the new thing, looking at the side. Have you seen some shit streamers too, where they've got hundreds of thousands of people watching, and it's like a fucking $4, Walmart camcorder, and they've got like 400,000 people watching them. Like, damn, son, they always look like they're just at the other end of some FBI film. No, I was wondering how much was yours, Dustin?
The camera?
If you don't mind me asking. Yeah, was it less than $1,000?
I bought this camera at like 2012, so at the time it was around $1,000.
Okay.
And I had bought that that was back when I was doing production work, so it was like, so I could start doing a couple freelance gigs.
Right. I may hit you up.
Yeah, it's been enough time since my production job that I still have a good eye on some good gear. So
cool.
I can definitely shoot you some recommendations.
That was it. That was my question. That was my last question.
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you got this deep. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, certainly. With that, we will wrap up the show with the hashtag
Delicious Lube.
I was going to say lube.
There we go.
Just do lube.
I literally just I have something in my head, but I'm like, let's toss it up and see what everyone spits out. That's what I think.
Lube is always going to grab people's attention.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll go with Delicious Lube. You guys let us know if you got this deep, whether it's in the comments, on Twitter, in the Discord, whatever works best for you, ladies and gentlemen. So let us know. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And with that, we will catch you guys in next week's episode, all right? Peace out.
Peace out.
See ya.